Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. I'm a little slow on the uptake here. Been a very busy morning, very busy morning. Trying to stay on top of all of this and on top of everything else going on around me. And so we're just going to keep plugging along, pushing along, and let's jump right into it. As usual, I'm going to go ahead and cut my cam so that we can play videos without lag. There we go. Got that done. Let's go ahead and jump into all of this. Is this the one?
This is what.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let me get my feed up here. And we're going to scroll down to where we left off yesterday. Just a whole bunch of stuff, huh? Stuff that's driving us a little crazy. Stuff that half the time we probably wouldn't have paid attention to if it was prior to all this insanity going on. But hey, what can I say? We just keep moving along. Okay. All right, this is where I want to start off. Okay. I'm going to start off with I don't remember his name. I think it's Ian Carroll. I think is his name. I don't remember off the top of my head. All right, here we go.
You didn't know. I get things wrong all the time. Like, in basically every video, at least something. The point of this account has never been to claim that I'm an expert at anything. The point of this account is that I want to know what's going on, and so I want to research what's going on. So I'm going to learn, and I'm going to share what I learned. And if you're not getting things wrong, you're not learning anything. So it's your daily reminder that you don't need to have an ego about it. It's okay to admit when you're wrong. It's no big deal. In fact, I think our society could use a little more humility some days. X has been losing its mind because Jeffrey Epstein's things are going to get released today, which they still haven't been released because, whatever, courts. But I fell into the trap of Loomer posting this and being like, oh shit, that's cool. I have not yet seen the original documents for the flight log. Like, if I had slowed down and thought about it, I would have realized that, the flight logs are already out because I've read Whitney Webb's book twice and she references them tons of times. But primary sources are the holy grail of reporting and of learning what's going on out here. And somehow I had not seen this primary source yet, which the more I thought about it last night, the more it kind of blew my mind that, out of all the research I do every day on all sorts of sites, on all sorts of messed up topics, and nowhere once in any of that research have I come across a link to Epstein's flight logs. What's going on, internet? So anyway, that's just one weird thing to ponder. Think about the other WikiLeaks that you're not supposed to read that no one ever links to, like a certain person's emails, Because if you just rely on the reporting of people telling you what's in them, you're never going to learn what's really in them because you need to actually go and read them because there's some shit in those emails. But anyways, today I got cracking because I'm behind the times and I broke down the whole flight log page by page, looking through every single flight to and from the island. There's obviously a lot more interesting stuff in there, but I just want to know about when they were at the island, who went there, zooming in, doing things like figuring out what's this name and who are they and what are they, how do they relate to what. Just learning stuff. There's no big dirt in this video. This is not I uncovered something. This is just me talking about the process of learning, making mistakes, no big deal. And sometimes mistakes are super harmful and you should correct them or take them down. In this case, it's oh no, more people know about Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs and more people are interested in it. Oh, big whoop. I'm not too stressed about it. Or there was some videos of people trying to be gotcha, he doesn't know anything. And it's cool, bro. Whatever, man. I don't know that much. I ain't really stressed about it. I've been wrong a lot of times. And when you make mistakes, you learn things if you're ever really excited about something, maybe pause, pump the brakes on the emotion, do a few extra double checks, and slowly you get better and better at whatever you're doing. So I found the actual court filings of the Ghislaine Maxwell case, and we're still waiting on the documents that were supposed to be released today. They'll probably get released at some point this week. Who knows? They probably won't even be that. They are not going to tell us the real dirt. Let's be real. But this is just your daily reminder that all content creators are fallible. All of us make mistakes. Do your own research, check through the comments, verify what you're seeing. It's a hell of a lot better than trusting the news to tell us what's going on, but it is not a perfect system. And please don't ever pretend like I'm an expert, okay? I am just a dude.
Just a dude. Just a dude. Ginger Jack with an important pro tip for anti-Fed boys.
Hey there, anti-Fed boys. This is a terrible house repair, but it's a really great way to say stash a pew for home defense in events. Because, on top of the terror of you pulling out a firearm, imagine your burglar that walks in and the dude just punches a hole through the wall and pulls out a firearm. Hey there, anti-Fed boys. This is a terrible house.
Just saying. Just saying. Here's a laugh for you. This lady's always funny. Always, always, always. A very happy Easter, she says.
Wishing you a very happy Easter from Batshit Bonkers. Britain, don't say Easter. You'll offend someone. Christ, don't say Christ. You'll upset the Jewish people. Oh, don't say Jews. You'll upset the Muslims. Thank goodness we've got religion to keep us all together. Queers for Palestine have been very busy. They want the British entry into Eurovision to boycott Eurovision because Israel are singing. Best not mention the fact that you can't be queer in Palestine because you'll be put to death by a firing squad. But, the inclusivity lot, They do love a little bit of exclusion, don't they? The idea that boycotting a singing competition would bring about some sort of peace in Gaza is very much like a Miss World competitor in the 1970s with her tits out, saying in a swimming costume that she wants world peace. Then finally, Biden chose to avoid mentioning Easter at all, choosing instead to talk about a trans day of visibility. The only way trans people could be more visible at this point would be to shove a fluorescent tube up their arse and stand under an electricity pylon. But never mind, a very happy to Easter if you're celebrating, and to all my glorious sturdy little lesbians and also glorious gays, and to you overly visible straight people, you bastards.
Oh, she is funny, isn't she? She is funny. Okay. We're going to keep them going. Houston, we may have a problem.
God, when I tell you can't make this shit up, you are not going to believe this one. The total solar eclipse map, yep, it just changed. 15 places in the U.S. just lost their total solar eclipse viewing, while Texas and Illinois gained more. So if you were someone who had a hotel and you were banking on being right there on that center line, well, that center line, for like example here, went from somewhere around here to about 50 miles north. So now you're going to either have to travel 50 miles or try and find yourself a new hotel room. So for the less serious observers, you just want to make it somewhere in between this orange line and this one, 115-mile swath. But for those who want to be dead on center, you better start scrambling, or you're going to be traveling extra miles, according to John Irwin, to go be at the center point. And the reasons are surprising. Apparently, scientists don't know what the hell they're talking about when it comes to the sun's diameter. Aren't you sure NASA's always 100% right? And apparently, all these previous projections of the eclipse maps were, well, askew. But thankfully, there's a new online interactive map, and it's putting things right just in time, yet just 2 weeks before the eclipse. Now, NASA claims that the sun's radius is 435,000 miles, but if they're wrong about that, I wonder what else they're wrong about. Of course, there's a lot of people that don't even believe it's the real sun anymore. They think it's a holographic projection. Or this video right here, which is about 5 videos back in my playlist. Make sure you go check that one out. While others don't even think it's the real moon. They think it might be planet Nibiru. Let's not forget all the controversy of the fact that some people believe the sun and the moon aren't lined up and they're supposed to be in Aries, but they're in Pisces and all that hoopla. I'm just wondering if all those schools that were canceled can now go back to school because they're no longer in the zone. And what about all those prophetic towns named Nineveh? Do they no longer need to repent so they can be saved? Because they might not even be in the path. Hallelujah. I'm just wondering where this John Irwin was for all the previous eclipses, but either way, he's a master computator and he's got it all figured out for you. Now, if there's one thing I can say about this reality we're living in, it's that none of it's real.
What the hell? Oh my God, no way.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Y'all want to come with me down another rabbit hole of how the U.S. government is using private industry to fuck over the American people? This is going to be a quick video, but I wanted to put it out because I want to hear what people think. The basic gist is that the United States government is using BlackRock to permanently house all the illegal immigrants they've been letting in. So you know how companies like BlackRock have been buying up large amounts of the single-family real estate? And a shitload of the properties that they bought are in the state of New York. And New York just declared that they're going to pay homeowners there $125 a day to house a migrant. $125 a day per migrant, per bedroom. That means the taxpayers of New York are going to be paying $3,750 per migrant per month. Now think about all those houses that BlackRock bought. Let's say they got a 4-bedroom. That means they can house 4 migrants. And at $3,750 per migrant, that means that property would now be bringing in $15,000 a month. And if any of those migrants have a family, that's additional money on top. And BlackRock doesn't have to worry because the money's guaranteed by the government of New York. I mean, you have to think so far in Biden's presidency, anywhere from 12 to 15 million illegals have crossed over. And then because of all the incentive programs that New York created, you enter this country illegally, you'd have to be stupid not to go to New York. You're going to get paid. You're going to get fed. You're going to get housed, all for the price of either a bus trip up there, or maybe you can catch one of those flights that Biden's been sending under everyone's radar. But regardless, you're going to go to New York, where BlackRock owns thousands of homes. And I'd be willing to bet a lot of those homes are about to have an illegal immigrant as a tenant. And they're going to make sure they get at least one in every bedroom. And I would expect that this continues at least until the census.
Yep. Yep. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Here's a good one for you.
If you go to Disney World, for instance, down there in the Haunted Mansion, you see the hologram, right? Oh, you know how to make a hologram. Well, our scientists have learned how to make people. They call them synthetics. Are you familiar with those?
Well, actually, we just interviewed John Lear, and he was talking about being in an audience in which they were given a lecture by a guy that they thought was real and found out later he was a hologram.
Well, it's a synthetic. A synthetics, when you touch their skin, it feels like plastic almost. That's the latest technique. The old techniques, if you guys can rent a video, the boys from Brazil, rent it, because in it, it gives you the exact way how our government's been making people.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
and the Soviets have a different method called...
I mean, making people meaning temporary people?
No, walking, talking ones.
Meaning through genetics? You're not talking about that?
Well, let me tell you. The movie shows it, but I'll share it with you right now.
All right.
All I need to do is take 2 cells off of your body, yours.
Uh-huh.
We give them a small electrical charge. I'm just don't act like a fertilized egg. If I got a fertilized egg, all I need is a receiver in order to make it. So they were hypnotizing women, said they were being invaded by aliens, and the fetus starts growing, right? Needs food. Well, they can use cows and sheep too. Again, a food source. That's all we need. After about 14 weeks, all of a sudden that fetus is gone because they've learned to take, that's when the fetus starts developing its own blood supply. Then they've used a pituitary hormone extract that they have, which accelerates the being that grows. And the original technology was given to our government by the Greys. Now, the reason was that our scientists were all excited because we could have spare parts. If you need a heart or a liver or anything, you won't have any rejection. It's your own DNA, right?
Okay, because theoretically, if we have overpopulation, we don't need more people, right?
But the so-called elite are selecting on who they want to have around anyway. So if we want to keep people going as long as we can, I talked to the doctor that was working on regeneration of Castro, for instance,
right,
on the DNA sequencing, and they're just learning about this.
Well, my understanding is that a lot of presidents have already been replaced.
That's right.
Yeah,
I don't think
they're walking around. They look old, but they basically some of the people are just
I'll just
second,
give you
third
something
copies.
I'll give you something to ponder. Get some old videos of George Bush, when he first came into office. Look at the person and listen to him speak. Look at his actions and listen to everything that's there. Now, it's a lot easier to put somebody out in front to act as even Bush did. He had somebody else that was up there acting like he is and look like it. Even Hitler had he had his stand. In fact, his stand-in was the one that they found in the ground over in Germany. I mean, Hitler and Eva and the dog and 14 other people got aboard a plane and flew down to Barcelona, Spain. You were aware of that. And then ended up in Antarctica or in Swabenland and then died a few years ago in Brazil.
That's what we heard. That's
I have all the documents from our own government.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a contact. One of our
Stalin
contacts.
Stalin asked for they tried to burn the body and he got the body back. And he said, we had different ears and the testicles were different and everything else. So they knew it wasn't Hitler.
But is it a clone or not?
Oh, now going by cloning. Cloning techniques. Since 1938, they've been making clone people. There's 8 countries making clones. I have a doctor friend that all it does is treat the clones.
Where do you get your information?
I get it from some of the people that are willing to come forth, and they talk to me because they hope I'll put the information out because they always got 2 people following them and they need to be killed. If I start talking about cloning too much, the people that get involved into that you disappear on it. So I don't go into too many more details, but there is information that's available, and it's more and more that's coming online. I just told you, go rent the movie.
Okay, Boys from Brazil.
Yeah, and you'll see the whole technique on what they show it to you in different places, so you can imagine what it's going on.
Okay, so
now let's go to the next step because this is the most important part.
All right.
If your physical reality that you have, based on this physical life that you have, this dream, is made up of the experiences that is impregnated on your body and in your mind consciously, right? Mm-hmm. Your soul memory is another thing. Mm-hmm. It goes back whatever time that you elected to be in this incarnation for whatever reason. Now let's show you the division on these things. Since the body is very physical, and we just got you making a physical being in a few months for spare parts. They said, now we've got the perfect deal. How can we have that work better? Well, if you go to the hospital today and get an encephalogram, what's that? That's the memory of your conscious mind. It's on the CD. Let's download it on this being. Now we got a walking, talking duplicate that has the total memory that you have because we just took it off of your own mind.
Okay. It's like Blade Runner, the android.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. The only thing is that it's like this DVD recorder. Sometimes you have glitches in it. So you have to have them tuned up occasionally or redone. And so we take them to Camp David, or there's a wing at Bethesda Hospital to just tell you. If you go down there and check, you'll find the nurses, if they're willing to come forth, they'll tell you they work on those people, and they call them the others. I thought it was interesting. They're people. Remember, these people can think and act, but they don't have soul. That's also prophesized.
Right,
Soulless
that's
beings.
true. That's true.
Now we have another agenda that's going on, so you have to be careful of all this. There are many extraterrestrials that would like to be in on the game right now, so they can sometimes will come into these physical beings that we've made to manipulate them.
I see.
So now you have a combination effort that you have to look at, and discernment. You have to discern what the game is. Well, just figure that most of the leaders we have in the world have been bought and paid for or created to think a certain way.
And then it was such a hit. It was way bigger than I even anticipated. And now I think we're going to make part 2. I think you have to. I think you have to. They kill you if you try to walk away. And they clone.
Yeah. I remember when Jack Black said that. This is young children found and saved from the back of a lorry in London. At the heart of all the evil that's grasped the world is a deeply sinister child trafficking operation at the behest of the so-called elites. It must be defeated.
I'm not sure it's from the movie. Cause somebody let me know it's from the Sound of Freedom. Cause it don't look like this. Look like real events.
Let me make a point that Sound of Freedom didn't show anything from London. These are London police officers, I believe. London or Canadian, one or the other. London or somewhere in the UK. From the band that's on their caps. See the white band that's on there. If Ganja was in the chat, he'd be able to tell us.
Are those Hispanic children? Oh my goodness. That's a shipping container. No. Oh my goodness, it's more. Oh my.
Yeah, now they're going to move everybody back and stop them from recording. Yeah. It's just crazy. Anti-Coulette's going on about the eclipse again. According to Auntie, on April 8th, there would be more than just an eclipse. Well, yeah, we've been saying that for a couple of weeks now.
Oh, April 8th is going to be a big day, isn't it? Not only will the eclipse happen on April 8th, but so will a lot of other things. Hang on to your britches, just because it's about to get real. Not only will there be a solar eclipse, which still doesn't sit right with me because it's supposed to be in Aries, but it's somehow stuck in Pisces. I'm going to do a video about a certain song and how I feel like it correlates with the fact that this eclipse will be stuck in Pisces. I'll stay tuned. That'll be a big deep dive for you later today. It will also cause the Aleph and the Tav to be created over America, the last 3 eclipses, and it will go over 7 cities named Nineveh, a city named Jonah, and a city named Rapture. I've done multiple videos on that. Guys, go check it out. But there will also be other things happening up there in the firmament. I mean, in outer space. The Devil's Comet. Set to go right over us at the same time as the eclipse. It is called the Devil's Comet because of its 2 protruding horns out of its mass. Well, that's weird. And speaking of strange, evil things in the sky, did you know NASA is planning to shoot a rocket at the moon, hoping to get water from the lower South Pole that they believe is there? And their mission is called the Serpent Mission. I'll be doing another video on that as well. And did you know that they did this actually on the October 2023 eclipse? My family and everybody in my hometown of Elko, we were all in the path of totality for that eclipse. Not a lot of people were aware, but NASA pulled this stunt. during that eclipse as well. There's a whole history behind the reason they named this, what they're naming this mission. It has a lot to do with the deity that chases the sun god. And in its exact words of definition, the deity that NASA's naming their mission after, it causes eclipses, and it goes after the sun god chasing it, and it sometimes can swallow or devour the sun disk. That's strange. The sun disk. But again, that's a whole nother video. Oh, the old a-holes at CERN are at it again. Yep, they're going to fire up their old Large Hadron Collider on April 8th as well. Stop it. Knock it off. Mad face, CERN. Mad face. Nobody wants you to. Nobody asked you to get involved. Last time you fired up the old Large Hadron Collider was last April. I know you wanted us to think it was July, but we all have eyes and saw the actual clock on it. Either way, you had intentions of opening a portal to a dimension that is just chock full of nothing but demonic, dark entities. And what did you do? You flooded our world with these demonic entities. Good job, CERN. Good job. So why in the world would you fire up your Large Hadron Collider on April 8th? This is a little eerie too. Slowly at CERN in Geneva, which I truly believe the Bible speaks of, that is the devil's place. That's where he lives. The Large Hadron Collider particle accelerator is coming out of its regular hibernation again. That just gave me ugh when I read that. Ooh, because only a beast would hibernate, right? Like a bear, you know, a beast. Something alive, at least. Progress can be followed live on CERN. No thanks. Last week, for the first time since annual winter shutdown, winter hibernation. Yeah, much like a bear. Since the annual winter shutdown, a first beam of protons briefly went around the accelerator's 27-kilometer circle at a full 6.8, energy. The first collisions of proton beams are expected on April 8th. Ugh, knock it off. You and NASA. We could, this world would be so much better off without CERN and NASA. Do we agree? I agree. The first collision of the proton beams are expected on April 8th when tests and fine-tuning of the machine are over. Then the large CERN experiments involving colliding protons can resume their measurement program. How do you weigh the millions and billions of demons you're allowing into our world? And these are just the events that we know of. Poof, we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes with the, those old elites behind closed doors and what they're up to. But yeah, this Serpent mission of NASA to shoot 3 rockets into the moon during the total eclipse, it's not the first time they've done it. They did it at the last October 2023 eclipse as well. And it, my friends, was dubbed the same name. I don't know about you, but when you got NASA firing rockets into the moon, and I still feel like that's a lie. I truly believe that they're doing it into the sun. And you got CERN firing up their old Large Hadron Collider, coming out of hibernation like a beast. An eclipse that creates the Aleph and the Tav, goes over 7 cities named Nineveh, one named Jonah and one named Rapture. And the Devil's Comet going overhead at the same time. That sure sounds like a ingredient for a big day. Yeah. If you don't have Jesus, get your bug out bags ready. But if you do have Jesus, I don't think you need to take a bug out bag where we're going. I love you all. Stay prayed up, repent, turn from sin, because I don't know. Who knows what could happen next? In this world, truth is stranger than fiction. I love you so much. Oh, and give your entire life to Yeshua and Yahweh before it's too late, because he could come back any day.
Well, her last statement was 100% accurate, no doubt about that. I'm not even going to play the video on this, but I will say Lips of TikTok put out breaking the governor of Wisconsin just vetoed a bill that would protect girls and ban males from female school sports teams. Claims the bill is anti-LGBTQ. Yeah. Boy, prophecy is flying off the pages of the Bible, says autocorrect 2.0.
While everyone is focused on Diddy and on this bridge, we have actual biblical prophecy playing out. I'm going to be talking about the book of Ezekiel today. Your minds are about to be blown. This is so stinking cool. So I've been reading this book. Ezekiel was shown prophecy. He was shown what will happen in the end days. And more specifically, he does talk about what exactly happened with Israel walking up to the tribulation. Now, Ezekiel chapter 38 talks about a coalition of armies that come together and they create an alliance and they invade Israel. Now, it's important to note when you're in the book of Ezekiel, you're going to notice countries that are names that you're not familiar with, but they are the countries that we know them as now. So Magog is essentially Russia. There's Gomer and Turkey. In chapter 15, God is speaking to Gog, which is the leader of Magog, or essentially Russia as we know it today. Will come from your place in the far north, you and many nations with you, all of them riding on horses, a great horde, a mighty army. You will advance against my people Israel like a cloud that covers the land. In days to come, Gog, I will bring you against my land so that the nations may know me when I am proved holy through you before their eyes. So God is going to use this moment, this event, to show his power and his sovereignty. So we have this, Russia, Iran, and Turkey forge new alliance. This. We also have this, Putin actually offered the leader of Africa weaponry, food, and supplies if he would come join in an alliance. Now we have this, Russian warships enter the Red Sea. This is 18 hours ago. Everything is coming together, and all of these countries are posturing themselves for the unfolding of this prophecy, y'all. The craziest part of all of this is that this is the opportunity that the Antichrist uses to come in and offer Israel a 7-year peace deal. He says, come with me, you'll be fine, I'm going to protect you. In the middle of those 7 years, he breaks his promise and he reveals who he is. I don't know how all of this is actually going to play out, but y'all, this is insane, and this is fun times to be alive. If you are saved by Jesus Christ, get your heart ready. Do not waste your eternity. We are actually watching biblical prophecy play out in front of our eyes.
Yeah. Book of Ezekiel. Yep. Okay. All right. Here's our laugh for today. Thought you guys would like this. Oh, he says, cat turds laughing, of course, but Gabriel Clark says, I'm screaming and crying and coughing.
While everyone is focused on Diddy and on this bridge, we have actual biblical prophecy playing out. I'm going to be talking about the book of Ezekiel.
Putting this sign on my mom's car for April Fool's Day.
What the hell was that? Why is that guy honking at me? Why is everybody honking at me? I don't know. That guy just gave me the goddamn finger. What did I do wrong, jerk ass? What the Christ? That's about the 4th person already. That's so weird. Jesus, God. The hell? I don't do nothing wrong. What did I do? I didn't do a bloody thing wrong. Why is everyone honking? I have no idea. This is the weirdest thing. That guy gave me the finger. Goof, I'll fucking honk at him. Fuck you. How about that? How about that, goof face? What the fuck did I do? Idiot. It's so weird. What the hell? I didn't do one goddamn thing wrong. That's why people go through road rage. What did I do? I'm going straight down the bloody road. Like, get lost. Okay, it's fine. It's probably just some cranky people. Cranky? What the hell's cranky? It's a beautiful day. Be cranky for. Honest to gosh. I would go out for a nice Monday drive, beautiful summer. And somebody again. Somebody again. Again, bro? Oh my God, another guy. What the frig is going on today? Honest to God. Okay, buddy. Fuck you. Fuck you too. You goof. What the Christ did I do? I'm going the speed limit. Go around me then. You jerk. Go around. Honest to God. Hey, I'm getting all nerved out here today. I can't believe this. That's about the 10th person. What the Christ? Honest to God. This world's gone mental. Do I have something hanging off my car or something? This is terrible. I know. There goes somebody else. You gotta be damn well kidding me. Fuck off, lady! Fuck off! What the Christ? Honest to God! Another one! What the heck? That person is crazy. Why is everybody honking at me? We should just go home. No, I want to go home now. That person just gave me the finger. What is wrong with this? How many people is that now? I have no idea. 20, maybe 25 people. It's Bizarro Day. I gotta get home. Maybe the world's ending and we don't know it. Maybe something's going on and they're trying to tell us. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm going home. That's it. Forget it. Forget it. Forget
it. My kids would be grounded for life if they did that. Hang that sign on the back of the car. It says, pranking my mom, honk and flip her off. Well, the fact is a lot of people got in on that. A lot of people probably got a lot of good laughs out of it, and even more who got to see the video. All right, the best generation. We are the masters of FAFO. Are you part of Gen X?
Gen X. How did you guys do it? How did you stay out of the generational hate war?
Oh, I think there's a better question to be asked here. Would you really want us to get involved? Because Gen X truly is the last of the FAFO generation. And before you ask us to FA, ask yourself, do you really want to FO? This generational hate war, we're not involved because we don't care. Do you really want us to care? Yeah, we didn't get participation trophies. So before we get on, understand there's going to be a clear-cut winner and loser. It will be a hands-on activity. Gen X is the last of the feral and wild and free children. It's like Lord of the Flies. We were all raised by each other. Think of it kind of like the Jungle Book. We're all just Mowgli. And before either parties think that they could hang with Gen X and drink the Kool-Aid, I need to remind you, our Kool-Aid was made with hose water. Our parents weren't out here gentle parenting anything. They did not raise us to be their friend. Truthfully, they didn't really raise us at all. We came home when the street lights came on, because home, there was chores at home. There was work to be done at home. And we understood that we didn't want to do that. For Gen X kids, home is not where the heart is. Home is where they wanted you out by the time you were 18. You better have a job. I just don't think people understand. Gen X truly doesn't have like a social group. Our social group was like the Breakfast Club. You just dealt with the people who lived on your street. Your friends were the people who lived in your area. That was your crew. You rode around on your little 10 speeds with them like a little Sons of Anarchy motorcycle club. People who grew up as Gen X have more miles by the time they were 13 years old on their 10 speeds than you'll ever get off of some kind of spin class. Sidebar, I rode around in the old neighborhood the other day from where my house was to where the pool was. It is 5.5 miles. We made that every day, twice a day. And the reason why Gen X is so quiet now is because we've seen the system fail multiple times. Right wing, left wing, it's the same bird. Oh, the government's failing its people. Yes. And if you are waiting for it to fix itself, then you're only failing yourself. We want to be left alone. We don't want to people with people unless there are people, because not every person is worth putting pants on for. We're all at the age now to where we are built for comfort, not speed. If I have to leave the house, there better be a clear-cut reason. We all have thick skin. Not everything offended us. We had the frickin' Goonies. Not that our give a damn was all too terribly high to begin with, but somewhere between that time and now, it is officially broken. X has realized a long time ago that opinions are a lot like butts. Everybody has one. Doesn't mean I want to hear it. We didn't go home and tell our parents about the adventures. We understood that snitches got stitches. We kept our mouths shut. So don't involve us in a situation that you don't want us to get involved in. Stayed out of it because we didn't care. If you give us a reason to care, you might have wished that we would have stayed out of it.
Yeah, I identify. Yeah, more craziness going on. Here we go.
Yeah, while things may appear to be quiet right now, it was a completely different scene just last week as police arrested those 8 migrants believed to be squatting in the basement of this home. And they also, it's what they would find inside. They would find drugs along with weapons, along with a 7-year-old child inside of that same room. I want to get straight to some video right now. This big bust happened last Wednesday when police got a call about a man with a gun just footsteps away from a school across the street. When they arrived, they chased 24-year-old Hector de Sosa Villalta, believed to be from Venezuela, into the basement of the home here at 3259 Hull Avenue. Well, that's where cops arrested him along with 7 others. Another man, 22-year-old Javier Alborno, tried to get away from the apartment with another weapon before he was also arrested. Now, when a search warrant was in place, investigators recovered 2 more loaded guns, 3 loaded extended magazines, and a box of ammunition with a bag of ketamine mixed with cocaine. Now, De Sousa Villalta and 8 others were charged with criminal possession of a weapon, criminal possession of controlled substance, and acting in a manner injurious to a child. All but 2 were released without bail. Now, De Sousa Villalta was arrested with attempted murder for shooting someone else in the leg. Now, this was all from another dispute that happened over in Yonkers. As for these other suspects, they are also being investigated in terms of another robbery pattern that they're seeing in Bergen County.
Yeah, all these people coming in our country. Now, I'm going to point out something about this particular video. I want you to notice a couple of things, okay? The first thing I want you to notice is the shadow here and the shadow right here. But then I want you to see this shadow here, the shadow and shape. Do you see it? Do you see what I see? Tell me you see the shadow so I can continue. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Pay attention.
Just a quick update. I want to express my sincere appreciation for all of you and your support. Secondly, I've been taking some time to reflect on the content I produce.
And he is reading. Watch his eyes.
And its impact on the real world. Why did I even start making them? As objective as I tried to be, now I realized I was manipulated by the entire conservative right-wing personalities into creating and spreading harmful content. I'm relieved to have realized that mainstream media, politicians, World Economic Forum, and all the individuals and organizations that I wrongfully criticized through my content have no ulterior motives to deceive us.
He's ready to cry.
It's time for all of us to place our trust in our government and the dedicated journalists in the mainstream media who work tirelessly to uphold our democracy. That's why I made the decision to step back from content creation and allow true journalists to take over, because our democracy is at stake.
No, that's not an April Fool's. That's not an April Fool's. That's right. And if you watch his eyes, he's ready to cry. Okay. Holding it all back. Somebody forced him to make that video. I think he's in the United States. I'm not positive, though, but I'm pretty sure he's in the United States. Let me...
Just a quick update. Firstly, I want to express my sincere appreciation for all of you and your support. Secondly, I've been taking some time to reflect on the content I produce and its impact on the real world. Why did I...
Yeah. His name is Damon Imani. He makes a lot of videos where he inserts himself into a news podcast or a news broadcast. Yeah, there's a gun pointed at him. Look at it.
Realized I was manipulated by the entire conservative.
Let's watch it again. Okay, it's only a minute and 19 seconds out of our lives, but you notice this shadow here, right? It's pretty prolific. That's from the light that is, more than likely over here. You look here, you see where 2 lights are on each of the eyeballs. Okay. Those aren't from screens. He doesn't have a computer in front of him. He's being shot with a camera. But you can't see you don't see a computer screen. Okay. Watch his eyes. He's ready to cry. Okay. But this solid arm, yeah.
Just a quick update. Firstly, I want to express my sincere appreciation for all of you and your support. Secondly, I've been taking some time to reflect on the content I produce and its impact on the real world. Why did I even start making them? As objective as I tried to be, now I realize I was manipulated by the entire conservative right-wing personalities into creating and spreading harmful content. I'm relieved to have realized that mainstream media, politicians, World Economic Forum, and all the individuals and organizations that I wrongfully criticized through my content have no ulterior motives to deceive us. It's time for all of us to place our trust in our government and the dedicated journalists in the mainstream media who work tirelessly to uphold our democracy.
So what I want you to notice is if you're watching his shoulders, he's barely moving at all, barely moving. Okay. That is not his shoulder. That is an arm. That is a hand. And that is a pistol.
That's why I made the decision to step back from content creation and allow true journalists to take over, because our democracy is at stake.
Yeah. Yeah, Julie, it's Hawks Mustard Seeds number 25. Just all one word. You got to type it in all one word. And that reminds me, I want to check and find out if President Trump's speaking yet. If anybody's watching for that, let me know when he goes live. Okay. So so he made quite a few videos where he inserted himself into a conversation, like with The View and other stuff. And basically when the Democrats or Democrats were talking about a particular topic, and he inserted himself in the video where he was part of the panel and turned around and truthed the hell out of him, dropped red pills big time. Trump is speaking. Okay, well, it's not showing him live. And almost everything that he does is on here. And there's a couple of hundred people already waiting for him on. He's not supposed to start until 3 p.m. PDT. PDT is Pacific Daylight Time, I presume. So, and I'm Pacific Standard. But let's let me look here real quick. He's got his own channel on YouTube, I think, doesn't he?
Sorry.
That's from a year ago. Yeah, I mean, he's not showing anything live right now on his website. Yeah, I'm not finding him. If he's on, I'm not finding him. What's the channel name that he's on? He's on RSBN right now? Okay, hang on. Let's see.
I want you to accept our endorsement for President of the United States. Very important. We got it.
Involved, but thank you so much, and thank.
So you got to fix that up too. You know.
Last bill to
I
don't, you know, Don Jr. Just don't do it again. The venue inside now.
I've been saying November 5th of this
year. In U.S. history, whenever he gets in,
I hope so. It needs to go. They need to go back where they belong.
they broke federal law.
Like everybody else had to.
To a lot of people that came in here legally, and they're kind of angry that they went through the right process, spent the money, spent the attorney fees to do it, took the time to do it. All right, so hang on just one second. Repeat that. All right, we're going to throw it to Grand Rapids, Michigan. President Trump, just take the stage there.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. The weather was a little rough, but there was no way I was going to miss it. And I see we have a lot of media here. That's nice, always nice. They're our deep friends, right? But we're getting better over the years, much better. But I do want to say hello to everybody. This is a special place to me, and we're going to have a big victory. The polls are looking tremendous in Michigan and Wisconsin. And we're going to do something I think that's very, very special. I think it's going to be a very special election. I've been saying November 5th of this year is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. I believe that. So just remember that. We're here this afternoon in Grand Rapids, Michigan, 1,283 miles from the southern border. You've been hearing a lot about the southern border over the last couple of years. We put up a chart which is border related, and you see the lowest point in history was just before I left. Just as I was leaving, that was the lowest point. You see the arrows pointing? And I think that chart spells out better than anything I can say today. In fact, I don't have to say anything. I can just leave. Just take a look at that. That is the best. And then it looks like a rocket ship went off. When you look at the other numbers, it's a shame. It's a sad shame. Under crooked Joe Biden, every state is now a border state. Every town is now a border town, because Joe Biden has brought the carnage and chaos and killing from all over the world and dumped it straight into our backyards. And people are coming in from prisons and mental institutions. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Under the Trump administration, we had a tough policy of getting the bad people out. We wanted to get them out. We took them out by the thousands, and we took, as an example, the MS-13 gangs out. The countries didn't want to let them back in. And I said, well, then we're not giving you any money. We give them so much money, in this case, $793 million. I said, that's okay. We're not going to give you any money. And they said, well, we'd be glad to have MS-13 coming back into our country. Be an honor. And they took them back, but they wouldn't take them back under Obama. Under the Obama administration with Biden, they wouldn't take them back. And I was told that they won't take them back. And I said, really, what do we give them? And it was close to $800 million. I said, tell them we're not giving it to them anymore. And they immediately said, let's take them back. That negotiation, sheriffs lasted about 3 minutes, and we succeeded. That was an easy one. Now under Biden, the bad ones are coming in at a level that nobody ever thought was even possible. Nobody thought this was possible. In Venezuela, the crime is down 67% from what it was a year and a half ago, because they're taking all of their gangs and all of their criminals and they're depositing them into the United States of America. Venezuela, think of it, their crime. Wouldn't we love to have a statistic where crime is down 67%? Ours is only going in one direction, and it's going to be very bad now because we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. They're having fistfights with our police officers right in the middle of streets. They're sending prisoners, murderers, drug dealers, mental patients, and terrorists, the worst they have in every country, all over the world. This isn't just in South America. They're coming from the Congo, from Yemen, from Somalia, from Syria. They come from all over the world, China. Many of them are military age, which is very strange. You don't see very many women coming in, and you see a lot of them coming in about 19 to 25, 26 years old, and especially from China. We have 29,000 over the last few months, 29,000 from China, and they all seem to be perfectly fit for military service, ready for military service. It's crazy. This is country changing, it's country threatening, and it's country wrecking. They have wrecked our country. But I stand before you today to declare that Joe Biden's border bloodbath, and that's what it is. It's a bloodbath. They tried to use that term incorrectly on me 2 weeks ago. You know, it's all about misinformation. That's all they do is cheat on elections and disinformation, misinformation, fairly closely related, those two words. But they basically mean that it's all talk, but it's a border bloodbath, and it's destroying our country. It's a very bad thing happening. It's going to end on the day that I take office, which will be January 20th. It'll end. And thank you. I want to thank members of Congress. A lot of great congressmen are here, warriors, really. They've fought with me for a long time. John James, John Molinar, and Jack Bergman, they're great friends of mine, and they love your state. They love your state. I want to really thank and congratulate, because this guy has gone like a rocket ship. I've never seen it. Well, I have a couple of times. We've got a lot of people elected. Those endorsements are pretty good. But, you know, you still have to endorse the right person. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And your next U.S. Senator, Mike Rogers, who's going to be fantastic, wherever Mike is. Wherever Mike is. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. He was a great congressman. He was a tough guy, too. He had one little sabbatical. He went to CNN for a little while, and it's okay, you know. They say got to be. But other than that, he's been great. Well, that's good, because now you'll get a few of the more moderate people. We're being nice, but he's a very respected person. He's the one we wanted. He's the one that decided to do it, and he's going to be I think he's going to be a fantastic U.S. Senator, always respected at the highest level. And he was always fair to us, too. When he did his television thing, he was always fair, strong, fair. I also want to thank Michigan Senate Republican leader Eric Nesbitt. Where is Eric? I think you're around here someplace, Eric. Good. Great job you're doing, Eric. Michigan House Republican leader Matt Hall. Matt. Good. They stand right in the middle, those guys. Former Detroit Police Chief James Craig. Good guy, too. Good guy. Good guy. Knows his way around and has done a great job. Thank you very much. We have great support. I think he just supported Mike, actually, didn't he? Did I hear that? That's a big endorsement. That's a great endorsement. Thank you, James. Second best. Well, thank you. Actually, Mike went up 61 points. Can you imagine that? He went up 61 points, and that's really that's quite a raise. It went up in one night, and he's. I think that primary is over. I think he's focused now on the Democrat, and the Democrat's a radical left lunatic, and doesn't represent what Michigan stands for. I can tell you, doesn't represent the auto workers, and wants to do the all electric cars all over the place that are all going to be made in China, and very bad. So I think that Mike Rogers is going to have tremendous success against her. Former Michigan Attorney General Bill Schuette, and thank you, Bill, very much. Thank you. And many other distinguished guests. We got a lot of people here, some ex-congressmen, some congressmen. I'm not going to go into it because we want to get down to business. We want to just get our country going again. We want to get the border closed, or we want to have people come into our country, but come in legally, right? Legally. Moments ago, I met with an incredible group of local law enforcement leaders to discuss how Michigan communities are being ravaged by a new form of crime, and that's the migrant crime that we name it. It should be called Biden migrant crime, but that's too long. But you'll always remember it was Biden that gave it to us. 11 days ago, right here in Kent County, a 25-year-old Michigan woman named Ruby Garcia, who's become a very well-known name, beautiful young woman, was savagely murdered by an illegal alien criminal under the Trump administration. This monster had been deported, thrown out of the country, wasn't going to be able to come back because you just have to look at the charts. It was very, very hard to get in. But he came back, and we threw him out of the country, and crooked Joe Biden took him back and let him back in and let him stay in, and they viciously killed Ruby. The illegal alien charged with Ruby's really heinous killing, and this is somebody that had many, many arrests, including for some very bad crimes that he committed. And he was set loose to roam our streets, and in this case, set loose to roam in Michigan by politicians that are left and weak and stupid. On March 22nd, he shot 17-year-old Ruby. Actually, she was a beautiful, beautiful young woman. Ruby Garcia was shot multiple times with an illegally obtained handgun. Her body was dumped on the side of a highway, left to die, actually. Had a little life left to die. And Ruby passed away, and it's been a big story because it's so horrible. Some of these horrible stories, there's so many of them, you could go on for days, but some of them just, they resonate so much more for whatever reason. They're all so horrible, and there's so many of them. Now Ruby's loved ones and community are left grieving for this incredible young woman, remembering what they called her. They said she had just this most contagious laughter, and when she walked into a room, she lit up that room. And I've heard that from so many people. I spoke to some of her family. 2 months ago, another illegal alien criminal was sentenced in Kent County by executing a 22-year-old Grand Rapids woman while she was in the car with her 1-year-old baby, shooting her at least 5 times all over with a rifle at point blank range, while the killer was wanted for outstanding attempted versions of various forms of strangulation. They were looking for this particular killer all over the country. He was allowed to come into our country by a very weak border policy. And just a few weeks ago, I met with the grieving family of Laken Riley. You know Laken, she was incredible. Top of her class. Everything was the top. She was the top of everything. She was incredible. I met the parents, incredible people. The 22-year-old nursing student in Georgia who was barbarically murdered by an illegal alien animal. The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals. Nancy Pelosi told me that. She said, please don't use the word animal, sir, when you're talking about these people. I said, I'll use the word animal because that's what they are. I'll never forget my vow to her wonderful mother, father, and sister 2 weeks ago. And I said, I will deliver justice for Laken. I said that. And now today I'm adding something. It's going to be for Laken, and it's also justice for Ruby. We're going to deliver justice for Ruby. We're going to watch what happens with this thug. We're going to watch what happens. And we have all the law enforcement behind. They're going to be watching what happens to this thug. He's not going to get away with it. So many people get away with it. They say, oh, let him go, let him go. I'm the only one that has to put up a bond. You know, I put up a bond. I didn't do anything wrong. I had to put up a bond this morning for $175 million. I did nothing wrong. They can shoot somebody, kill somebody, and walk out of jail an hour later. How about that? Do you think that's a fair policy? That's called radical left. But not one more innocent life should be lost to Biden migrant crime. The first step to restoring safety in America is to fire crooked Joe Biden, get him out November 5th. And we're going to get him out. We're going to have more people voting, I think, than anybody can even imagine. And if that happens, if we swamp them, If we swamp them, swamps too. First, you want to drain the swamp, but you want to, for purposes of voting, you want to swamp them. And we're going to swamp them, and they won't be able to cheat because they're very good at that. 3 years ago, we had the most secure border in U.S. history, and you see that up there. We ended catch and release. We built 571 miles of border wall very successfully. We're all ready to add another 200. That's far more than I said I was going to build, but it worked so well. We got Mexico to send 28,000 soldiers for those people to say Mexico, oh, they didn't give the wall. They didn't give the wall. They gave more. They gave us 28,000 soldiers for years. That's why my numbers were so good. 28,000 soldiers. I said, you have to give them. They said, we wouldn't do that. Why would we do that? By the way, did you see Mexico's now asking for $20 billion a year to even sit down and talk to these people? They wouldn't ask me for that. $20 billion a year. Have you seen that? I don't know, Mike Rogers. I think we're going to have to stop that. But $20 billion a year they want just to sit down and talk. Think of it. How crazy is it all? Where have we come? But they said, no, we won't give you soldiers. Why would we do that? Oh, he said, yes, you will. Oh, you're going to give me the soldiers. No, we will not do that. Of course, that's what you'd say. That's what I'd say. You will do it 100%. I will do anything you ask, including I will make a really major bet. You will do it. The 28,000. Nope, we won't do it. I said, here's the story. If you don't have this approved, it was Friday evening, immediately I'm going to sign a bill where we're going to tariff your cars and all of the other things you send in to hurt Michigan and to hurt other, but regardless of that, because the new threat is China is now building factories, not with me, they weren't, in Mexico. They're going to build cars in Mexico and sell them, and they think they're going to sell them over our border with no tax, okay? Not going to happen with me. With Biden, it's going to happen. And Michigan and the United Auto Workers will be totally out of business. They're the biggest car plants anywhere in the world. And they're building them in Mexico. A friend of mine builds plants. That's all he can do. He can't walk across the street, but he's the greatest builder of car plants. But you ask this guy, who won the game last night? I don't know. I couldn't care less. All he can do is build plants. He's unbelievable. I said, I want to take a look at some of the plants. He said, okay, are you ready to go to Mexico? So that was bad enough. Then he said, because China is building the largest plants anywhere in Mexico, right along the border, and they're going to make cars. They're not doing it with me. With me, they're going to be tariffed to a level that those cars will not happen. They can't do this to us. They've already done, and whoever heads the auto workers, United Auto Workers, should be ashamed of himself, approving the electric vehicles, all electric. It's the craziest thing. They don't go far. I was just telling the people in the back, I was going to use folks, but I don't like using the word because Biden used it every single speech. Hello, folks. It's like a nervous habit with him. Hello, folks. Thank you, folks, hundreds of times. So I just sort of put that out. So, but I was telling the people behind me, it would have been a nice time to use that term too. But I said that, when you look at all of the horrible decisions that have been made, but this decision with the electric vehicle, I mean, outside of allowing prisoners and mental institution people and terrorists into our country with no checks, no nothing, no checks, no nothing, by the millions and millions, the electric vehicle one is one of the dumbest I've ever heard too, because I was in a beautiful place called Iowa, and we had the Iowa primary, which I won by the highest number in history, by the way, which we're very happy about that. By double the highest, actually. We had double the highest, the best margin doubled. Anyway, so I love it. But it happened to be a little cold that night. It was 40 degrees below zero. And there were more electric cars. I said, what are all those cars doing all over the streets? They're electric cars, sir. They don't work in the cold. So they're going to have to do a little business first. And I want them people to buy electric car if you want one. But I want them to be able to buy every other form of transportation, I want you to use gasoline a lot because we have more gasoline than any country anywhere in the world. So we're playing into China because they're going to make that's what they have. They have that. We have gas. We have gasoline. We have oil and gas. We have gasoline. And I said, isn't it a shame? We play away from our strength and we play right into their strength by doing this. And the first day, I promise you, I will sign where the electric vehicle mandate is gone. If you want an electric car, you can buy it, but you're going to be able to buy every other form of push, every other form of car and engine and motor that you want, and you're going to have it, and the car companies are going to have to go back. You know, I don't know if you know it, the reason the car companies, the massive subsidy that this country is paying to try and get these cars sold. We have hundreds of thousands of cars electric. They can't sell them. People don't want them. And you got to go with the market. We've sold about 5% of our cars are electric, and that's fine. I think they're fine if you like to go short distances. If you want to take a trip, I don't think you want to do that. I don't recommend electric. Maybe someday they'll be able to do it, but right now they're not even close. So we're going to end that immediately. We're going to end it day one. But we had remain in Mexico. Think of this. We had the 28,000 soldiers. And when I said, I want them now, we had them the following week. That's why our numbers are so good. But we have remain in Mexico, safe third country agreements, asylum bans, Title 42. When people were sick, we don't want them coming into our country with contagious diseases, and they haven't. And all of a sudden, you see these contagious diseases spreading, and everyone's saying, I wonder where they came from. I can tell you where they came from. And we had what's called a rapid removal policy, very rapid removal, like how about the following day and even that evening. And all of that's been ended by crooked Joe Biden. It's just so sad. And that's why you see the numbers on the chart where they look like the rocket ship. Joe Biden and his party came in and they blew it all up. Everything was, all the things we did in so many other ways too, with trade, so many things. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China, and they're soft on China. They're soft on everybody but me. They're very tough on me. They are soft on everybody, but they're tough on me. But that's okay. It's going to all work out very nicely because the people of this country understand it. You can't interfere with elections like they do. And it's the only thing he's got going, if you think about it. The border policies are horrible. All of his policies are horrible. You look at inflation, inflation's through the roof. No matter what money people are making, the inflation is better unless you quadrupled your salary. The inflation is just destroying people in this country, where bacon is up 3 and 4 times, where the food prices are so bad, the energy prices. And by the way, energy is going up again, in case you haven't noticed. Fentanyl and opioid deaths in your state are up 32%, and deadly drugs pour across the border at levels that nobody's ever seen before, steering thousands and thousands of these vats of poison right into Michigan lives. And once peaceful, suburban Michigan is really now, you're under an invasion, and there's no way you can vote for this guy. I mean, look, I don't want to be too casual about it. There's no way you can vote for this guy. You see what I see, and there's just no way. If he makes it to the starting gate, which I find it hard to believe, but if he does, there's just no way. We have to get law and order back. These are the best people in the world. They will know. The sheriff's behind me, and this is in all states. Somebody said, how will you get these criminals out? I say the sheriffs, the police officers, the police, law enforcement in their local communities, they know every bad kid. They know every bad person.
Are you serious? Are you serious? I mean, seriously, if you think that that's Joe Biden, if you think that that's the real Joe Biden, you're off your fucking rocker. Okay? I proved it time and time and time again on this channel that is not Joe Biden. That is an actor playing him. Okay? There's a difference between acting and real life. And if you haven't figured out that we're watching a movie right now and that you're actually part of the movie, whether you like it or not, and you're not getting paid for it, well, then you've lost your fucking mind.
Person. They know their first name, their middle name. They know their phone numbers. They have their cell phones. They have everything about them. They know exactly what to do and how to do it. These guys know exactly what I'm talking about, but we have to let them do their job. And we're going to work out a federal immunity for police so they're allowed to do their job without losing their house and their pension and everything else when the liberal governors and mayors don't back them. In Troy, Michigan, a band of illegal alien thieves recently went on a rampage at a local mall, breaking into the diamond store, smashing the display cases with hammers, attacking the employees, and making off with armloads of jewelry. You read about that, a lot of jewelry. Oakland County organized squads of illegal alien gang members are helping, and they're hiding all over and breaking into rural communities. They're hiding in bushes, actually. They say they hide in bushes and then they break into a house when the people leave, and sometimes when the people are there, which is probably worse. But into the rural communities, suburban communities. And, you know, the suburban housewives actually like Donald Trump. You know why? Because I'm the one that's going to keep them safe. They like to say, well, the suburban housewives, I don't know. I think I do great with the suburban housewives because they want to remain safe. But they loot the jewelry, they take their purses, electronics, watches, all of their cash, and the people come back and they say, what happened? If you don't want illegal alien criminals crawling through your windows and ransacking your drawers, then you must vote for the fact that we have to throw crooked Joe Biden out as fast as possible, the damage he can do. And we're talking about a certain type of damage. An even bigger damage could be World War III, because this guy has no clue. He can't put two sentences together. And he's dealing with Putin, and he's dealing with President Xi, and he's dealing with Kim Jong-un, all people I know very well. We were under no threat from anybody until this guy got in office. Now they're talking nuclear all the time. We didn't talk nuclear. I rebuilt our nuclear power to a level that nobody has, but you don't mention it and you don't talk about it. But now Putin's talking about it. And now Kim Jong-un again is talking about it. You had 4 safe years. You were safe because they respected your president and they respected the United States of America. And now you're not safe, I will tell you. We could end up in World War III with this lunatic. In various counties recently, 3 illegal alien migrants were arrested for soliciting sex from children, yet the radical left-wing governor, Gretchen Whitmer, a real beauty she is. I had to deal with her in COVID. She was the only one that was able to go sailing was her husband, right? Her husband went sailing and everybody else is locked in their house. How did that work out? Not too good. But she's now pushing Michigan families to accept $500 a month to take illegal aliens into your homes. They don't say this for our veterans that are on the street. They don't say this for other people, but they say it for migrants coming in because they want them to vote, probably. In other words, Biden and Whitmer are stealing your money to give free housing to illegals and then asking you to quarter these people, put them in your homes and feed them and do everything else. And it's just, the whole thing is so crazy. And she's a terrible governor, by the way. Your streets are bad. Everything's bad. She used to come to the White House. She was so nice. And then she'd go say, I don't like that man. I say, wait a minute. I was very nice, wasn't I? But when I'm president, instead of asking you to cram illegal aliens into your homes, I'll tell you that the illegal alien trespassers, they must go back to their homes. They have to go back because no country can withstand this invasion. There isn't a country in the world that can. I don't care how much money, and we owe $34 trillion. There's no country in the world that will withstand the cost of this, and maybe more important than actual dollar cost.
Yeah. Okay. Well, seeing that it stinks in here, I'm going to show you where the door is. It's right over there.
The cost that it's doing, it's wrecking our civilization. It's destroying our country. On day one, I will seal the border and we'll begin the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. And if other countries say they won't take them back, we're not going to take them back. I will say that, yeah, here they come. You're just going to hold on to your britches because here they come. They're coming back. Congratulations. And if you don't think these countries send them, and they send the people, by the way, that they want out. They're not sending their finest. They're sending people that they want. That's why they come out of jails and prisons. That's why they come out of the mental institutions and insane asylums. Human trafficking now is mostly women. Is at the highest level. We had it to the lowest level in 37 years. I had it down to the lowest level in 37 years, and now it's at the highest level ever. And this is human trafficking, mostly in women. We will stop the plunder, rape, slaughter, and destruction of our American suburbs, cities, and towns. We will end deadly sanctuary cities immediately. I will shift massive portions of federal law enforcement to immigration enforcement, and we will impose a naval blockade on the cartels, and we will hit the cartels very hard, but we're going to impose a naval blockade because when the land gets clogged, these are rather smart people. They go this way with the boats. They have some pretty good boats too. I tell you, they have a lot of money. They have unlimited money. The money they've made more money than The corporations that you read about on the covers of the magazines don't make the kind of money these cartels are making. Now I'd like to invite some of the heroes, really, law enforcement professionals here to speak, say, for just a few minutes, the Biden border bloodbath. They want to talk about it, and we will talk about it. Our country is in trouble. We're a nation in decline. We're not going to let it happen. We've got to stop it. We've got to win on November 5th, and it's all going to stop, and it's going to stop very quickly. Thank you very much. If I could, I'll ask Police Officers Association of Michigan, President James Tiganelli, to come up. He's a fantastic man, respected all over the country. Thank you. James, please.
What an honor to be here and with all these leaders of law enforcement and Congress with you here, waiting for the next trip up to DC with you. I wanted to tell you a little bit about recruiting, retention, and what the life of the police are like right now that we know you were going to fix for us because you did the last time, just because of how you feel about us. 45 years ago, 45, number sounds familiar, right? 45 years ago, when I hired on at the job, 2,000 people would apply for 200 positions. Because this job of deputy sheriff and police officer was a very honorable job. The guy down the street, you all knew where they lived, you all looked for them for leadership. And nowadays, and let's say the last 10 years, we can't get enough people to fill the vacancies. The academies are empty. Nobody's coming along. And we can't get enough candidates. So why does that happen? It's not because there's no desire, it's because of recruiting. And recruiting to me was always the grandpa, Uncle Joe, who was a police officer. Maybe he was the baseball coach that was a cop during the week. He was the guy that you respected. I didn't come from a law enforcement family, but I came up as a law enforcement officer because they were important to me. On the east side of Detroit, you needed to have a few friends in a PD. The 48205, this is now the most violent zip code in America, I believe. That's where I was at. But there's no way we can have a president of the United States that allows 3 million people a year or more, I'm sure, to come across to come on our country illegally. We can't allow that to continue. It's those who enter, they do so in the light of day. They do it by pushing aside our National Guard. Then they're handed a gift card, they're handed a telephone or an iPad, transportation to anywhere in the U.S. that they want to go. And then you want to tell these law-abiding people that are here, you have to obey the law. There seems like there's no real reason to do that anymore. And that's made it very hard to be policing because people look to us, the law-abiding people look to us, but they're saying, what about that person? What about that? As you've talked about here today. My mom used to say it takes the wind out of your sails. You just kind of, everything calms down and it's not so good. The felons that we arrest become misdemeanors and then they become no bond. And then they become free guys really before we get our car cleaned out at the end of the shift. Why would you expect people to obey the law when millions are rewarded for disobeying it? I don't know how many officers must get injured or killed or worse, the civilians out there that are injured or assaulted or killed and assaulted. We've heard about a couple of them here tonight. I know that we can fill these vacant jobs with good people. I know they're out there. I know we can recruit them, but we need a commander-in-chief that will give them just simple due process. You've talked about some of the things that are important to us, but they just need to know they've got somebody behind them a little bit instead of trying to push them backwards, pushing them forward. I think that'll help to restore the honor to this job that was once such an honorable one. I can promise you that our guys will put that suit on and go out and do the job for you. They really will, and they'll be better for all of the people in this room when that happens. We always were what stood between law-abiding citizens and chaos. You hear about it all night. You've talked about it here today. Instead of those efforts to make the United States look weak and poor and average, we need you. We need you to make America look great again. And I know you have that. I know it's there. Last week when you went to New York and you attended the viewing of Jonathan Diller, I just wanted you to know that brought honor to every police officer, every deputy sheriff, every law enforcement officer, wherever we were in this country. When we saw what you did, it was like, that's cool. That's us. That's a boost for all of us. It's so good. I hope that you'll consider with the Congress and the Senate here that we have that you'll support legislation to make a death penalty for killing a police officer while on duty. And I'll leave you with this. We supported you. We endorsed you in 2016. We were the first guys in Michigan. And you sent me a little video, and we still have it. We were proud to do it. We were there in 2020, and I'm telling you, we're here in 2024. And today, on behalf of 12,000 law enforcement people that the Police Officers Association of Michigan represent, we want you to accept our endorsement for President of the United States. Very important. You got it. Thank you for the time. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you very much. That's very nice. That's a great honor, and thank you very much. And we will make you proud. We will make you proud. I do want to thank the family, Jonathan's beautiful wife, Jonathan Diller, and I met with the whole family. These are incredible people. What happened to Jonathan should never have happened, and they were just devastated. But the spirit and the love and the numbers of police that were there, and firemen, fire women, the number of people that were there was incredible. It just was incredible. But that's an incredible family. So we send our love. I said to Stephanie, he will not have died in vain. So, but I thank you very much for the endorsement. Thank you. So if I might, we're going to do this very quickly. Sheriff Daniel Abbott, as you know, Van Buren County, highly respected, and he's going to say a few words. Thank you, Daniel.
So I'll make this pretty brief. I was asked to hit on how the open borders are affecting us here in southwestern Michigan. Our county is actually on the southwestern part of Michigan, only Berrien's below us. I ran some numbers yesterday in our jail facility. 40% of our inmates in our jail in Van Buren County have out-of-county residency. Out of the 40% that do not live in our county that we're feeding every day, 10% of those have addresses from Mexico or Guatemala. Put that in perspective. We are a rural community. 10% of the folks in our jail are from Mexico or Guatemala. They're not in our jail by coincidence. We didn't just see them walking down the road and saying, you know what, I don't think you belong here. They're in our jail because they committed crimes. If you look at the heinous crimes that they committed, the one that really jumped out at us is all the violent sex crimes. And it's not just against adults. It's against our children as well in our community, and that's appalling. To go even further on that, with the open borders the way they are, when President Trump was in office, our narcotic unit was buying a ball of meth, which is 3.5 ounces of meth, for $300 to $350 for a ball. As of this past week, a ball is $85 because the market's flooded by the tons coming across the open borders and semis. And when I say tons, I mean tons. It used to be a thing of the past, or it is a thing of the past, folks doing making the meth in their own residences. They don't do it anymore because the cartel's bringing it in by the tons. They're not having to make it inside their residences, hence cheap amount that's going out and the amount that's on the street. It's disturbing. I've got a few bullet points I want to really drive home to you folks. Career law enforcement officers have faced incredible challenges these past 4 years for several reasons. The drastic rise in fentanyl as well coming over the borders touched just about every family in southwestern Michigan. You guys all see it on the news on a regular basis, all the ODs and domestic situations that we handle in law enforcement. We handle roughly 2 overdose deaths a week in our county. Keep in mind, our county is only 76,000 population. So at least twice a week, we're handling those. And those are numbers I ran yesterday. I just didn't make those numbers up. That's disturbing. It's getting in our schools. It's getting in our children's hands. It's very disturbing. It's killing our kids. It's poisoning our communities. It's making the jobs of law enforcement professionals much more difficult. The open southern border is the heart of lawlessness and crime you're witnessing. Make no bones about it. We need leadership at the national level that is willing to solve this crisis. President Trump, without a doubt, is the leader we need to get the job done and get America safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Allegan County Sheriff Frank Baker to say a few words, please. Frank. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's truly an honor to be here today and talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart, as well as my fellow sheriffs, and that's safety within our communities. And one of the biggest things that we're facing now, and Sheriff Abbott mentioned it, is the crime, the level of crime we're seeing, but the amount of narcotics, the illegal narcotics, whether it's methamphetamine or fentanyl, it's devastating our communities. And something needs to be done about that. And the only way we can do anything is to secure the border. A lot of times people ask me, the border's a long way from Allegan County. And yes, it is, but there's not a day goes by that's not impacting what happens in our county because of the amount of drugs that we're seeing. We used to be known as the meth capital of the world, jokingly people would say, because of the number of methamphetamine labs that we'd made arrests for. We don't make arrests for methamphetamine labs anymore. I mean, it's a thing of the past, because the illegal drugs that we're seeing now, the crystal methamphetamine, is so cheap, as Sheriff Abbott had mentioned, it's cheaper to buy it than it is to make it. So we have a crisis on our hands and we need help. And part of that help is going to be securing our borders. So I appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today to talk about this important topic to us, because there are a lot of tragedies that are happening. You mentioned it with Ruby Garcia. In fact, a couple of our deputies made the arrest of the suspect in that case last month. So it's happening in our neighborhoods, even though the border is a long ways away and we need help. And so I appreciate what you're doing to help us and meeting with us today to talk about this concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Great people behind me. Is Tom Homan here by any chance? Tom Homan, where's Tom Homan? Because I wanted to pay tribute to him. He is some man. And I know he was around here. I said hello. I said, I might bring you up, but I'm not going to bring him up because he's not here. He had to get back to capture people. But I just want to thank Tom Homan. He has been so special. He's been so great on television. He's been so respectful of the job that we did as an administration. We had such great numbers, and we took over a tough situation, and we had great numbers. In 2016, I ran on the border. And in 2020, we did such a good job. I couldn't even talk about the border. The people would say, sir, they don't want to hear about the border. I said, no, we did a great job. We have to talk about it. Sir, they don't care. You fixed the border. The border is great. You see the numbers up there. The border is great. Nobody cares about the border. And now we have today. Today, the border is 100 times worse than it ever was in 2016. I call it peanuts. That was peanuts. That was small time. And today it's the worst border anywhere, I think, in the world. There's never been a border like this anywhere in the world where millions and millions of people are coming. Thousands of people come over an hour. And there's never been anything like it. We're going to fix it. We're going to close it. And we're going to do many other things that we're not here to talk about, but we're going to make our country great again. We are not now a great country. We are a country that is in serious decline. And we're not going to let that happen to our country. We're going to fix the economy. We're going to get inflation under control. Inflation's up, probably real number is 50% in the last few years, and people are being destroyed just going to the grocery store. That's where I hear it the most. They go out for groceries. They can't believe it. They're paying 4 and 5 times more than they did 2 or 3 years ago. But we're going to fix our country. We're going to be respected again all over the world. I'm going to keep you out of World War III. We're not going to have World War III. Right now, the way we're going, you're going to have World War III. And we're going to do a real job. We gave you the largest tax cut in history, largest regulation cuts in history. We took care of our soldiers. We rebuilt our military. We beat ISIS, and we didn't go into any wars. Everyone said, remember when Hillary Clinton said, look at him, he's going to get us into wars. I got us out of wars. And but we knocked out ISIS, and we knocked out everything we had to do, and we rebuilt that military to a level. Unfortunately, he gave a lot of it away to Afghanistan. But as much as it was a small portion compared to what we did. We rebuilt our entire military, and I'm very proud of it. We have a great military. They're not woke like people think. A couple of people on top are, they like to be, but we're not. Our military is amazing. What they did with ISIS was supposed to take 4 years, and it took me a couple of months to knock out ISIS 100%. You remember I had it down to 97%, and the media started saying, sir, it's not 100%. I said, I've got problems. I better do it. So we took a few more weeks, and we got it down to 100%, and they admit it. And it's just one of those things. But the people behind me are incredible people. They're heroes. They're heroes. And you have a couple that are going to be elected very soon, and they're going to do a real job. They love Michigan. They love the country, and they're going to do a real job. It's an honor to be here. I'll be back a little bit before November 5th. I'll be back as many times because this is a very important state. You win Michigan, you win the election. You win Michigan, you're going to win the election. And so we'll be back, and we'll be back to Wisconsin. I'm heading for Wisconsin right now, and we're going to be back there quite a bit too. We're going to put it all out, because if we don't win on November 5th, I think our country is going to cease to exist. It could be the last election we ever have. I actually mean that. We don't win. I think this could be the last election we ever have. That's where our country's going. So I just want to thank you all. Thank you very much. And I just want to thank you all very much. It's an honor. I'll see you soon. And again, give these people a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. That's the end of that. All right. We're going to jump into a video for a few because I've got a couple of things I got to get done here in the next few minutes. So I will going to go ahead and pull up. We're going to start off with yesterday's X22, which I ended up missing because I had to go to I'm running out right now.
Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3319 BN. Today's date is April 1st, 2024, and the title of the episode is People Are Now Using Common Sense. April Showers. Storm is on the horizon. Talk about protecting yourself. Peace of mind. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech, fake news, the puppet masters, they are now in trouble. Why? Because people are using common sense. Think about what has happened since the resident has come into the White House. The resident and all those other individuals that are the swamp creatures, they have been reversing everything that Trump has done. Plus, they've been pushing their 16-year plan. Plus, they've been pushing their insurgency, trying to weaken the United States from the inside. And the way to do that is open the borders, destroy religion, destroy history, brainwash the children, destroy the economy, try to bring us to war. And that is what people are seeing now. And as time goes on, yes, in the very beginning, people might have said, you know something, I don't believe it. There's no way that this is what's really happening. But now, after 4 years, people now are using common sense and saying, you know something, I do see it now. I see what they're trying to do. And this latest hit from the Biden administration, actually, by the way, Biden says he has no idea that he actually declared that March 31st, the day of Easter, Trans Visibility Day, which means we need to think to ourselves, who's really in charge? Who's really calling the shots? Is he just the front man? It's starting to seem that way, doesn't it? But I do believe that people now, they're actually seeing it. And what works for one doesn't always work for the other, because people just, write it off. They discount it and they say, yeah, I don't believe that. And this is why we need to go through this and actually allow the deep state players to do what they do best. And I do believe this is why Trump and the Patriots needed to follow this plan. They needed to set everything in motion. this way, the people at every stage of the plan would start to wake up and start to use common sense. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Some people, they see it right from the very, very beginning. Wow, look at this. I just saw CRT. I just saw what they're trying to do with investment companies, with ESG. I see the DEI. Holy crap. Do you see this? Other people say, no, I don't see this. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, those people woke up. The borders, those being open. A lot of people say, you know something? We should have open borders. You know why? Because this is how the country was built, by illegals coming into this country, or I should say migrants coming into this country. But as time went on, what did people see? They saw that these weren't just everyday migrants who wanted to make the country better and they were going to contribute to the country. These were drug traffickers, human traffickers, terrorists, criminals, murderers, you name it. Some people woke up from this. Other people did not. With the economy crashing, a lot of people saying, I just lost my job. Why is it costing so much? I don't have that much money to spend. This makes no sense to me. Other people who are a little bit wealthier, who didn't lose their job, they weren't affected. So every step of the way, people see different things. The latest thing that people have seen is that the deep state players, they're trying to violate your religious freedom. And they're trying to take your religious freedom and they're trying to destroy it. They want to get rid of it completely. And people now see this. A lot of Christians in this country and a lot of Christians, they said, whoa, wait a minute. This is why I think this is one of the biggest years where people actually went to church, which is very, very interesting. So people now, they're pushing back. What do you think is going to happen when the economy crashes? Let's say the market comes down. You think that's going to wake up a lot of people? Absolutely. What happens when there's an event in this country? You think that's going to wake up a lot of people, especially if that person came in with open borders and that person was a murderer, a terrorist, or whatever. It's going to wake up a lot of people. People are going to start to use common sense. What do you think is going to happen when we approach war? When people believe and they see other countries getting ready or they try to attack the United States and the United States intercepts the attack, the first round of the attack. You think people are going to wake up? You think they're going to want Biden in charge? No, actually, from the polls, the people don't trust him. So who is this going to work out for? This is going to work out for Trump because this is going to wake a lot of people up. People are going to use common sense and people are going to say, you know something? Yeah, now we're at a period in time where, yes, we had a mean guy who was making mean tweets, but now we're at a point where we need the adults to step in and we need to protect the country because otherwise this country is going to be destroyed because they're going to attack us and Biden will not have the ability to stop it. So we're going to need an adult to step in. I think they're going to see a lot of D's all of a sudden admit, no matter how tough it will be, some of them will resist. They will eventually admit that, yes, we need someone who's strong, who could stop this. And yes, that is going to be different. Now, remember, the fake news, the corrupt politicians, they're going to be screaming and yelling. Hollywood's going to be screaming and yelling. They're going to say, no, you want war. You definitely want war. Biden can handle this. Or if Biden's not there, Kamala can handle this. Don't worry about it. So basically what we're seeing right now, the storm, it is now approaching. It's on the horizon because now we get the information from Diddy. We could see that information coming out is waking a lot of people up. People are starting to ask questions because remember, most of the people thought this was a conspiracy because remember the fake news saying, oh no, Pizzagate, conspiracy, pedophilia, a network of people who are into pedophilia. That's a conspiracy. The trans thing is okay. It's okay to have these drag shows in schools. See, a lot of people thought, oh no, it's okay. But now they're starting to realize, well, wait a minute. All that conspiracy is actually turning out to be true. And now I see Nexium, I see Weinstein, I see Wexner, I see Nygaard, I see Epstein Island, and now I see it with Diddy. And now this is spreading to other people. Now people are really waking up and questioning this. Again, common sense. This is exactly what Trump says. It's common sense. And when you have an issues campaign, it's much, much easier to see. I think this was a brilliant strategy. An issues campaign really wakes the people up. Come into the White House, prepare everything, reverse everything the deep state was trying to do, and let them reverse it back. Which way did you like it better? Did you like having more money in your pocket? Did you like having secure borders? Did you like having peace around the world? Did you like having a strong economy? Did you like the 1776 program that Trump implemented when he was in the White House? Or do you like the CRT, the DEI? See, now people can see it very, very differently, because before Trump, you weren't able to see any of that. He needed to force it on the people so you could see the differences. And I do believe that people now see the differences. And you can see that the deep state players, they are now panicking. And yes, they're going to panic all the way to the elections. And this is why Obama, Clinton, Biden, this is why they were fundraising while Trump was with the family of the slain officer. And the people of this country, again, used common sense, and they saw this. And it was very, very easy to see. While you have Biden, Obama, and Clinton partying, you had the people with Trump at the funeral. So people, they see this. They're not stupid. They understand what's going on. And you saw the parade of police. This should tell you everything you need to know. If you think the deep state players are winning, it's actually the opposite. Trump, the patriots are winning. Everything that you're seeing is being done on purpose, so people would use their common sense when they see it. And the only way to do this is to actually have control of the country. How do you get control of the country? Well, you need the deep state to overthrow the United States government, or attempt to overthrow the United States government. This way, the military then can control the country. And if the military can control the country, Trump can then implement his plan and allow the resident to go to the White House to show you everything so you could use common sense. Why do you think it's called the Great Awakening? How do you think people were going to wake up? You think people were just going to wake up because Trump was there? No, Trump needed to force the deep state into doing what they do best. And he needed to accelerate it so the things that you didn't see, you will see no matter what. It'll be right in front of your face. You can't miss it. And he had to do it this way. And remember, he's doing it because Obama, from the very, very beginning, he set up the insurgency. That's what you're witnessing right now. You're watching the entire insurgency. Trump, while the people watched the insurgency, he knew that people would counter this, and this would be the counter-insurgency. And this is why I do believe he set it up this way. He already has the military. He already has that. He just needed the people to counter everything the Obama administration, the Biden administration, the deep state players were doing. And that's exactly what we see. We're going to talk a little bit more about this a little bit later, and how the people now are moving towards Trump, and the young generation are moving towards Trump. But first, let's talk about the border, because the people now, they're seeing something very, very different from when Biden first came and lived in the White House. When they first originally opened the border, people were like, yes, open borders, the people should come in, free country, woohoo. Now the people, they don't agree with it. You could see out in New York, Chicago, Denver, and many other places, you could see that they can handle the influx of all these illegals coming into this country. And the people are getting very, very angry. Actually, most of the mayors are now saying, listen, you can come to this country, just don't come here. Well, you know what? You wanted this, so they're going to go to these different cities, and you're going to have to deal with it until you say, close the border. And with all these illegals coming in, they're going to destroy the city, which means the people, they're going to be looking at their installed leader saying, you didn't do anything to help we the people that live in this city. So next time around, we don't need you. And I do believe you're going to see the majority vote these people out. But remember when the illegals charged through the El Paso border fence? Well, it looks like the judge decided to release the illegals who were charged with rioting after the large group stormed the border. And they tore down the razor wire, and they went up to the National Guard. Some of the National Guard were hurt because they had shanks and knives and things like that. So right now we have the El Paso magistrate judge on Easter Sunday. He ordered the release of the migrants accused in a border riot when a stampede overwhelmed the National Guard troops along the Rio Grande. And that tells you everything you need to know. And think about how many of these individuals were able to come into this country. Because remember, the Biden administration, Mayorkas and the rest, remember, he's being brought up on impeachment charges. It's supposed to happen on April 10th or so. Remember, they just take people, they fly them into this country, or if they get across the border, they bus them and then fly them to other places, and they don't vet any of these people. And again, if people want to come to this country, that's perfectly fine. But you need to be vetted. Just like if you're going to open your door to your home, are you just going to let anyone in? Or do you stop them at the door and say, who are you? Can I see some ID? Why are you here? You question them. That's vetting. The same thing when people come into our home, which is the country. You vet them. Let me check your back. Oh, wait, you're a murderer? Yeah, we're not going to use you. We're not going to let you in here. Oh, wait, human trafficking, child trafficking? Actually, we're going to be calling the authorities because I'm sure there's an arrest warrant out someplace for you. So, yeah, people need to be vetted every step of the way. But think about how many people actually got into this country who are murderers, who are terrorists. And this is why I do believe there's going to be an event in this country. Actually, Chief Jason Owens put this out on X and said, March 27th, U.S. BP agent in Deming, New Mexico, arrested a Mexican national with prior convictions for first-degree murder, battery, stalking, and probation violations. This is what's known as an aggravated felon. He does not belong in the U.S., let alone in our communities. And he's absolutely right. So the question is, if they caught this one guy, what about the rest? Where are they? Because remember, millions and millions of people came into this country. And yes, I do believe the people are going to see something happen, and it's all going to be blamed on the Biden administration. And it's going to wake a lot of people up, especially as we approach war and the economy breaks down. But you can see the deep state players, it looks like they might be getting prepared and ready for something to happen as we move forward. And I do believe they're preparing for a cyber attack. I do believe they're preparing for a communication blackout and events because, again, they won't be able to cheat the way they cheated back in 2020. And I do believe they already know this. They already see the internal polls, which is not the ABC, CNN, MSNBC polls. These are their own polls that they're running, which tells them the truth of what's really going on here. And they already know if they can cheat or not. And they know if it's possible, especially I don't think it's possible because they don't have the virus that they need. They don't have the shutdown that they need. So this is going to be very, very difficult. Now, can they try something? Absolutely. Can they have an event to try to put their cheating system into place? Absolutely. They might try it. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't believe it's going to work this time around. I do believe in the end, their event will be trying to shut down the elections. And along the way, yes, they're going to have a communication blackout. And what's very interesting is that AT&T, it looks like they were hacked and 7.3 million current and former users were affected by this hack, and it was leaked to the dark web. And AT&T said that they're resetting the passcodes of millions of current customers, and they are helping, I guess, the people with identity theft protection and things like that, because a lot of the information that was stolen was the full name, email address, mailing address, phone number, social security, date of birth, AT&T count number, and passcode. So it's very interesting that AT&T was hit like this, and I do believe they are now building up the narrative that if these hackers can do this, what do you think foreign state actors can do? Well, they can bring the whole system down. And I do believe this is why we've seen the cellular system actually go down. And if you notice, it's continually happening with the cellular system. And I do believe in the end, we're going to see most likely the systems come down because do they want people communicating when there's an event, when they can't control the narrative? No, I think they want control. So this way you have to remove as much as you possibly can. The problem with all this is that the social media platforms, they don't control all of them, and they don't control the satellites that are in space. So this is going to be very, very interesting. And I don't believe the internet is going to be completely shut down. I do believe they have malware inserted in many of the devices today, the phones, computers, and things like that, where it will stop them from getting into certain areas, but the internet itself will not be shut down. But again, we'll have to see how this plays out as we move forward. But you can see the deep state players, they're going to try to control what people say. And those people that do not comply with their new rules, they will arrest them or fine them or both. And we can see that Scotland right now, they imposed There are fascist hate crime laws, and those who are found guilty may face up to 7 years in prison. So again, these are hate crimes. What is considered a hate crime? Well, if you use the wrong gender for a transgender, you could be thrown into prison. Actually, J.K. Rowling came out and said Scotland's Hate Crime Act comes into effect today. Women gain no additional protections, of course, but well-known trans activist Beth Douglas, darling of prominent Scottish politicians, falls within a protected category. And those people that use the wrong pronouns or whatever, that might be considered hate. Ian Miles Chung put this out and said, police officers in Scotland are being given training to target social media posts, including retweets of material deemed threatening and abusive. Under the country's new hate crime law, actors and comedians are not given a free pass to make jokes about sensitive subjects that offend people either. The new training provided to the officers, which has leaked to the Herald, requires police officers to go after anyone who produces material deemed threatening and abusive, which can also be communicated through public performance of play. Under the new hate crime law, people who make fun of misgender trans people, make racial jokes or criticism of certain religions, or criticize migrants can be prosecuted. The different ways in which a person may communicate material to another person are by displaying, publishing, or distributing the material. For example, on a sign, on the internet, through websites, blogs, podcasts, social media, etc., either directly or by forwarding or repeating material that originates from a third party through printed media such as magazine publications or leaflets. The hate crime law goes on to state that giving, sending, showing, or playing the material to another person, listing examples such as through online streaming, by email, playing video, through public performance of play. So repeat a joke you heard online, or show someone a spicy meme or commentary of a transgender person or a mass migration on your live stream, and you too will be arrested. Seems fair, doesn't it? Elon Musk responded to this and said, an example of why it is so important to preserve freedom of speech. Now, remember, they use this out in the other countries first: Australia, New Zealand, Scotland, UK, you name it. Because once again, they do not have a constitution like the United States. We have freedom of speech. When you read the First Amendment, it doesn't say, hey, you have freedom of speech except for hate speech. Because the founding fathers knew what is hateful for one person is not hateful for another. And if you don't like what someone is saying, don't listen. Shut them down. Shut them off. Block them. That's your choice. But people have the right to say what they want. They're allowed to have their opinion. And if we're talking about an elected official, we absolutely have the right to actually call out the elected official. But again, you can see the Biden administration, he's sending his foot soldiers to people that are talking about him, and he doesn't like it. But they're going to start doing this, and we can see it already that in all these other countries. And eventually what they're going to do is they're going to try to bring it here to the United States, but it's going to fail. Rasmussen Reports put this out on X and said a majority of voters have concerns about online misinformation and hate speech, but most are also worried about political censorship on the internet. And where do you get political censorship? Oh, from the deep state, from the tyrannical government. Yes, people might be concerned, but again, go back to the Constitution. The Constitution says you have the right to speak freely, and the press has the right to actually speak freely and report on things that they see. So you're going to see a lot of things happen in all these countries as they implement these laws. And actually, I do believe it's going to fail. And that's why in the end, because remember, this is about controlling the narrative, forcing you to stay in their narrative, and they're forcing you not to say anything that they don't deem appropriate. So they're controlling speech. That's really what they're doing. Wait until you see what happens when people don't abide by this and it gets out of hand. How do you control it then? You got to, shut down the communications of everyone? Yeah, I think that's where all of this is headed. Now, the other thing that's very interesting here in the United States, we could see Washington State Governor Inslee has signed a new law, and gun owners have 24 hours to report a theft, or they're going to pay a fine of $1,000. So let's see. When a person is robbed and someone takes your belongings and you don't report them in 24 hours, it's $1,000 fine for you. That seems fair. How about we start arresting all of these individuals? How about we start saying, you know something? You commit a crime, you're arrested. Wouldn't this just cut down on all the crime that's happening right now? I mean, what's very interesting about all this, and we'll be talking about this a little bit, is that they're saying that, look, crime is going down. Yeah, when you don't arrest anyone and everyone's committing a crime, it looks like you have no crime going on because you're just letting the criminals do whatever they want. So there's no police records. There's no crime statistics. It's absolutely unbelievable. And they're trying to convince everyone, see, there's no crime. We have no crime, except all the stores are closed. Nobody wants to go out in public. Gunshots that are being fired all over the place, murder everywhere. But all these people are being released because there's no crime. And this is how they're trying to gaslight the people. We'll be talking about what Newsom's going to do to fight crime. Not arrest people. No, that'd be ridiculous. We'll be talking about that in just a sec. But it looks like Erdogan out in Turkey, just like all the other leaders, he's having a major problem right now. And he has suffered an historic loss in Turkey in the municipal elections. And I do believe all these installed individuals that have been in power for a very, very long time, I do believe their days are numbered right now. And the people in their countries, they've had enough. And remember, out in Turkey, their entire economic system is completely and utterly breaking down. Inflation is completely out of control. And the people now, they're starting to realize they need to make a change, just like in Argentina, just like in El Salvador, just like in the Netherlands, just like in France and in Canada and all the other places. The installed politicians that were put into these positions, all the policies that they've been pushing to get us into the Green New Scam, the Great Reset, is now coming back to haunt them. And it's going to be a complete and utter disaster, especially when the economic system completely and utterly breaks down. People notice this very, very easily and clearly. And the people say, you know what? If I can't make a living, if I can't pay my bills, I don't care if this guy is fantastic or great. We don't need him because I can't survive. We need someone that is going to work for us and actually help the economy, help the people. So that's why the people are going to be turning on all these people, because they're starting to realize it, because it's affecting them now. Talk about protecting ourselves online. A popular car manufacturer and its customers became victims of a data breach recently that exposed the private information of 100,000 individuals. This included sensitive information like Medicare cards, driver's license, passports, tax file numbers, and other personal details. A hacker group took credit for the breach, claiming they stole 100 gigabytes of sensitive company and personal information. This is why I protect myself with today's sponsors, Virtual Shield 1, and I absolutely love them. Virtual Shield 1 continually scans and erases my data from the internet and the dark web. This helps to protect my sensitive information from data breaches, cyber criminals, rogue ISPs, tech giants, evil execs, and more. Plus, with Virtual Shield 1, I'm automatically covered with $1 million in identity theft protection insurance. In a world where there's 3.8 million records stolen from data breaches every day and your privacy is constantly under attack, you need the identity theft protection that Virtual Shield 1 offers. Thanks again to Virtual Shield 1 for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to sign up by visiting virtualshield.com/X22 or simply using my link in the description down below, because every sign up with that link gets up to 67% off with a 60-day risk-free trial. Give yourself the gift of peace of mind. These people might have, I'm talking about the installed politicians, they might have said all the right things, but never followed through on the right things. But now it's not working in their favor. And I do believe in the end, all these people are going to be removed from the people of their country. Now, what's very interesting, going back to March 14th, remember when Chuck Schumer was out there and he calls for the end of Netanyahu and his government in Israel? Well, once again, he actually is calling for regime change. And he's doing this because Israel now is removing the terrorist group in Gaza. And I do believe this is why Schumer was out there saying, listen, they got to stop this before all the terrorists are completely gone, because we need those terrorists. We need that group in there. And we also have Representative Jamal Bauman. He's calling Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a maniac and demands he be removed from office. So now they're actually speaking out. They're calling for Netanyahu to be removed. And lo and behold, since Schumer said this back in the middle of March, all of a sudden we have thousands of people protesting in Israel against Netanyahu. It's almost like they planned it or something. I wonder why they want him gone so badly. See, if the deep state and the D's, want someone gone, it must mean that they're doing something right, if you really think about it. And what's very interesting is the defense minister, Gallant, he has disclosed that high-ranking Hamas operatives detained by Israeli forces in Gaza have divulged crucial information suggesting that the group is undergoing internal collapse. That might be the reason why they want Netanyahu gone and they want a ceasefire. And we could see that Biden right now, he has reversed his stance on the ceasefire from all the pressure from the far, far left. He is now saying maybe we should have a ceasefire. I wonder who else is pushing him in this direction. That's very interesting. But look what Israel did. They went ahead and they actually destroyed the embassy, the Iranian embassy in Syria. So the Iranian state media have now begun to confirm the death of Mohammad Reza Zahidi, as well as 5 other officers of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard that were eliminated in Israel's airstrike against the Iranian embassy compound in the city of Damascus. Brigadier General Mohammad Haji Rahim, the deputy commander of the IRGC's Quds Force operations in Syria, Lebanon, is now also reported to have been eliminated in the Israeli airstrike. Iran's ambassador to Syria, Hussein Akbari, has stated that the Iranian response to the Israel airstrike today against the embassy compound in the city of Damascus will be swift, direct, and harsh. We can see that things are now really building up, and we could see that war is now progressing. And what we see happening right now is I do believe Israel is getting rid of the terrorists, getting rid of those individuals that have been directing the terrorists, and it looks like they're cleaning house. Think about what Trump did when he was in the White House. He actually struck down Soleimani and took out their main guy. Now all these individuals are being taken out, and it looks like Hamas is collapsing from within. And now you know why they want a regime change in Israel. And if the deep state is calling for it, you know the opposite is true. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that out in Niagara Falls, they have declared a state of emergency to prepare for the total solar eclipse. Now, do we think that because of the total solar eclipse that we're going to have power outages and we're going to have problems? No, I do believe there's going to be a lot of people in Niagara Falls watching the total solar eclipse, and this might be ripe for some type of an event because there's a lot of people there. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try something with a lot of people. Usually when there's lots of crowds in certain areas, they usually like to have a shooting or maybe a bomb go off or just something happen in these areas. Now, do I think it's because of the solar eclipse of why this is going to happen? No. I do believe the deep state players, they plan things at certain times to push a certain agenda. So I do believe if we go back to the post that says, see something, say something, I believe that pertains to what might happen there. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But again, these are all the different areas that we need to look at. And we might even see an illegal do something in this area, which then calls attention to the border. But let's see how this all plays out. Maybe nothing will happen. But it's very interesting that they're already declaring a state of emergency for this. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that Obama now is completely coming back into the picture. They had a fundraising event, a party, while the police, Trump, and the people of America were watching the funeral of the slain officer. And the people now see the difference. They see, wow, look at Trump, look at the people. They're on the side of the police. They're on the side of this. Look at the deep state players. They're partying. They're worrying about money. And Obama now is coming back into the picture, and he is basically driving the whole fundraising campaign. You think Biden's doing this? Absolutely not. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that since they had the fundraiser, Interactive Polls decided to do a poll, and the poll is against Trump and Joe Biden, and Trump is up by 3 points, 46 to 43. And we know these are skewed, by the way. And then all of a sudden they decided to do a poll with Trump and Michelle Obama. And with that poll, Trump is 47 and Michelle Obama is 44. So they're saying, look, it's very, very close. I find that very interesting that they decided to include Michelle Obama in all of this, comparing it to Joe Biden. I think that tells us that something is about to happen. And I do believe the Obamas are being brought back into the picture because everything revolves around the Obamas. They planned and kicked off the insurgency when he came into the White House. This is his plan that he's conducting right now. That doesn't mean there's not other deep state players. He's the one who's orchestrating a lot of it that's going on. I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they want to bring him front and center. And that reminds me of this post, since they did a poll and they just had a fundraiser, post 985, April 2nd, 2018. Down below, it says, "Hi, I'm Beverly Eckert. My husband was killed during the 9/11 attacks. I rejected the 1.8 million from the government and filed a lawsuit against them instead. I was a loudmouth and well-known figure in the 9/11 truth movement. Coincidentally, days after meeting President Obama, I died in a plane crash." Down below, it says, "Hey, Q, Hillary Rodham Clinton, 2/12/09, very bad. This right? The timestamp is the key." So this is going to be very interesting moving forward. And we're going to have to see what happens with the Obamas, because I do believe Trump and the Patriots want them front and center because they're the ones who are pushing the insurgency. They are the ones pushing the infiltration. They're the ones who are destroying the United States. And I do believe he is orchestrating all of this since he came into office. He's not for America. He's against America. Why do you think he chose his United States Secret Service name, which is renegade, traitor? Think about it for a sec. And also think about how the people now are realizing that certain mayors, governors, they're all part of the deep state system. And they realize that these people come out when they need to be on camera and they're pushing a political agenda. They're not there because, oh, a police officer died. They show up because it's politically correct and they need it for elections. Steve Gruber put this out and said, New York Governor Kathy Hochul was asked to leave the wake of the fallen NYPD officer Jonathan Diller just minutes after arriving. Several cops waiting outside the funeral home then clapped as she walked away. You think they respect her? No, the people know. Kash Patel responded to this and said, "If she did her job, Officer Diller would still be alive. Hochul is the female Biden. She shows up for politics, not for you." And he's absolutely right. And it looks like a lot of the black installed individuals like Al Sharpton, he's starting to realize, you know something? The direction that Biden is heading in is the wrong direction. And he actually called out Biden for attending the Ritzy fundraiser with the other presidents. And he said, "You're snubbing the working class." And the people now, they're looking at Trump, and he went to the funeral and the people now are with him. So they're starting to recognize that, wait a minute, we're losing the people. And can they get this back? No, it's completely impossible. Are the illegals going to help the deep state players win the election? Absolutely not. They will help create chaos. They will help them with pushing the American people to the brink. Because remember, these individuals, these are criminals. These are terrorists. So when the deep state players ask them to do something like block the election so nobody goes to vote, they will go ahead and do that. Just like they were told during 2020, go riot. We give you free reign. We will not interfere. Go ahead, burn, loot, kill people. We will allow you to do this. And that's exactly, it's almost like the purge, actually, if you really think about it. And I do believe this is going to happen once again as we get closer and closer to the presidential election. But you can see that they're trying to stop Trump every step of the way. And he has been delaying, pushing the trials off, showing that all of these trials are hoaxes. And I do believe in the end, he is going to win big time. He put this out on Truth, actually, two truths. He said, Byron York, it was a big joke, but 454 million is not a joke. Someday, of course, what goes around will come around for Democrats, probably in circumstances that none of them could predict right now. Someday, that is, unless common sense prevails first. That's very interesting. So what goes around comes around. That's going to be very, very interesting. Then he put this out. Judge Goron and Letitia James should be forced to explain why he ruled that Mar-a-Lago was worth $18 million, when in fact it is worth 50 to 100 times that amount. How did the Attorney General of the state of New York force this corrupt judge to do that in order to help her narrative? And why? Why was she able to force him to do this? What do they have on him? Remember, they promised her to be governor. They promised her many, many things if you can get Trump. She campaigned on getting Trump. So, what do they have on Ingorn? Is Trump trying to tell us that, yeah, something's about to come out? I do believe so. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is, like we said from the very, very beginning, the bridge coming down has many different agendas. I do believe one of them is the Biden administration, probably in the summer, is going to blame the economy on the bridge. Number two, the bridge was called Francis Scott Key, and he is the creator of the national anthem. And what does the deep state hate? The national anthem. And we could see already they're going after the name of the new bridge. They don't want it to be the Francis Scott Key Bridge. I mean, is anyone really surprised about this? Remember what they were doing. They were removing statues because, again, they're trying to remove the history. And the Washington Post breathlessly asked, after summarizing Key's life and begrudgingly recounting the inherent heroism of how Key authored the Star Spangled Banner during the Battle of Baltimore amid the War of 1812, the article then descends into baseless accusations unmoored from fact. The Post alleged that the Star Spangled Banner did not become the national anthem until 1931 because of a controversy surrounding the poem, partly over Key's racist views. The third stanza reference to the hireling and slave, the author claimed, was intended to mock or threaten African Americans who escaped slavery to join the British forces after being promised land in exchange for their service. Indeed, some activists had demanded that the rebuilt bridge drop the Francis Scott Key name altogether, claiming that since Key owned slaves, renaming it after him would be another of America's spit in the face insults to Black Americans. Similarly, Georgia Republican Representative Mike Collins suggested the Baltimore's current leaders would undoubtedly rename the bridge when it came time, asking his social media followers to throw out their jocular predictions for the new name. But before we leap headlong into erasing Key, we should examine whether there is any merit to the allegations or if it is just another historical hit job. The record shows the left's claims are either not true or seriously misrepresented. The phrase hireling and slave have been used in military poems since at least the Revolutionary War to refer to British soldiers, highlighting their servile service to the tyrannical English rule. There is no evidence to suggest Key intended a radical reading of what was at the time a familiar phrase. A much more plausible interpretation of hireling and slave was that it referred to the mercenary forces hired by England and to the fact that the British Navy quite literally would enslave foreign sailors and force them to fight. This was even one of the primary causes leading to the War of 1812. So once again, the deep state players, they're trying to shift everything and convince you, oh, again, the country was built on slaves. No, they're misreading all these different terms and words. Yet remember, you need to put yourself back into that time period. Just like when you look at the Second Amendment, and when it talks about a regulated militia, it's not regulations, it's a trained militia. Very, very different. And you could see already, they're already starting to push the idea that we can't have this name. And remember, bringing down this bridge, there are many different agendas. If you're going to bring a change of batter and the economy's falling apart, how are they going to take the reins? They can't come in and say, hey, we can make it better. So you need something where they're going to blame it on an event, which is the bridge. So probably during the summer, they'll say, listen, Biden's policies were working perfectly. The bridge went down. That's when all the problems started. Now you're seeing inflation again. Now you're seeing fuel costs. Now you're seeing all these things. It had nothing to do with Biden. It had everything to do with the bridge. Now, can they bring in a change of batter? Of course they can. This is what they're going to try to use. Now, the other part of it, I do believe that was a message to the people of this country. We are going to destroy this country. And I do believe that message is coming from Obama, the deep state players, Soros, and the rest. And now people can see this very, very clearly. And you know what else they can see very, very clearly? How they're going after the freedoms of every single person. Remember, this is what our founding fathers fought against, where the British government, the tyrannical government at the time, which was their government, they were trying to take away everyone's freedom. We're seeing the same exact thing happen right now. And it's leading up to the people saying enough is enough. So they hit against free speech. They hit against freedom of the press. They hit against owning a weapon, your right to own a weapon. They hit against searching you, because you're being searched when you go into the airport, into a train terminal or whatever. You're being searched every single time. So they're hitting your rights. They're violating your rights. And now it's your religious right. And this is the same thing that our founding fathers fought against. But what's very interesting is that Biden now is backtracking on what he put out on Easter. Remember, this is the post that he put out on X. Now, we know it wasn't him, but this is what was put out under his name. Today, on Transgender Day of Visibility, I have a simple message to all trans Americans. I see you. You are made in the image of God, and you're worthy of respect and dignity. Transgender Day of Visibility. And now, when reporters were speaking to him, and Philip Wegman put this out and said, and this is a quote from Biden, "I didn't do that." Biden said when asked about proclaiming Easter Sunday Trans Day of Visibility. Asked about Speaker Johnson's claim otherwise, the president replied, he's thoroughly uninformed. So if he didn't do it, who did it? Remember, this is under his account. So if he doesn't know what's going on with his X account, how can he run the country? Really think about that for a second. But we know that this was all part of their plan, and it brought attention to Easter. It brought attention to religion. It brought attention to all of this, and it woke a lot of people up. And actually, Libs at TikTok actually points to the person who invented Trans Day of Visibility. And I don't even have to make a comment here. She said, this is the person who invented Trans Day of Visibility. He claims he knew since he was 8 years old that he was trans. And I think he's something like 57 now. And it just, wow. And we can see that the deep state players, the corrupt politicians, they're all on board with this. Emerald Robinson put this out and said, the Democrats are pagans and pedophiles who want to encourage transvestites in public life. The duty of Christians is to publicly oppose these demons. And she's talking about the Education Secretary Cardona. He replaced his American flag pin with an LGBTQ plus pin for Transgender Day of Visibility. And I think that tells you everything you need to know. And even Soros, the son of George Soros, he is getting ratioed to the moon. Patriots Are Control put this out and shows his account, and it says comments 2,900, retweets 343, likes 317. And it looks like nobody is buying what they're selling. And to top it all off, we had individuals take a truckload of Bibles and burnt them and actually dump them at 6 a.m. in front of a church. And this tells you everything you need to know, where these individuals have always been going after all of our rights, whether it has to be with freedom of speech, religion, being searched. I mean, just go back in time to the pandemic. Remember, they planned this pandemic. We never had to be inside. We never had to be separated. We didn't need the bioweapon, but they did it on purpose. And remember when Fauci was out there and he talked about Thanksgiving, he talked about Christmas and everything else. Remember Easter? He said Kentucky will take down license plates of people attending Easter services and order them to quarantine. So Fauci was telling everyone, you can't go to these events, stay away from your family, don't celebrate, don't do these things. But BLM, Antifa, they can be outside, very close together, in crowds, protesting, and then lighting things up on fire and killing people. Remember what they've been trying to do to the American people this entire time. Never forget. Because again, they've been fighting with the American people this entire time. And actually, Rasmussen reports did a poll and says, do most politicians in DC govern as though they believe in God? And Dems say 48% say no. Independents 60% say no. GOP 72% say no. All voters 59% say no. I think that tells you everything you need to know right now. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is we could see that the Biden administration, they have been setting everything up for cheating, because that's what they do. They always cheat in an election. They can't win it because the American people will not be with them. And it looks like with his executive order 14019, it looks like they put certain rules into place to actually register a lot more people like prisoners in prison, which is very, very interesting. So, a federal effort to register voters using the government's vast reach, including throughout the U.S. prison system, is raising concerns from critics who have said it won't benefit Democrats and Republicans equally. Mississippi Secretary of State Michael Watson wrote to U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland on March 6, alleging that the agencies under the Attorney General's charge are attempting to register people to vote, including potentially ineligible felons, and to co-opt state and local officials into accomplishing this goal. The allegations relates to Joe Biden's Executive Order 14019, which states the head of each agency shall evaluate ways in which the agency can, as appropriate and consistent with applicable laws, promote voter registration and voter participation. Among other things, this order has forced U.S. Marshals to modify more than 900 contracts with prisons and jails to provide voter registration documents and facilitate mail-in voting for inmates. Critics say elections are under the purview of states, not the federal government. If you allow the president to be the one to decide whether all of these massive resources are channeled, that's problematic. Adding that this is why the founders gave election authority to states and not to the federal executive. And yes, the resident cannot write an executive order telling the states what to do. And again, they know how to play the game. They're going to try to use this because they know the lawsuits are going to take time, and eventually it's going to reach the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is going to say this is unconstitutional. You're not allowed to do this. Just like when you go back to COVID and you go back to the 2020 elections, actually, everything that they put into place back then has been reversed by the Supreme Court and many other judges. And again, they know how to play the game. And yes, they're going to try to cheat as best they can. But again, they're not going to be able to do it. And I do believe this is all going to fall short. And a lot of states aren't going to go along with this, which means they're going to be in major problems. I think a lot of states are going to reject this. Yes, the blue states will most likely go along with this, but this is not going to be enough people to help them because Trump, he's using a completely different strategy. He is creating the counterinsurgency, and he's using the people of this country to fight back. And when Trump wins, he's going to change everything. Right now, Trump has a short list of 20 potential Supreme Court picks. Mike Davis put this out and said the following. President Trump's most consequential accomplishment of his first term was the transformation of the 5-4 left of center court to the 5-4 Clarence Thomas court. Trump will build on that success in his second term with even more courageous appointees to the Supreme Court. And yes, he's going to change everything. And we can see that things are already changing. The young voters right now, they're more concerned with the economy, and the young voters are moving to the side of Trump. And what's very interesting is now there are calls to the DNC, stop registering the young voters. When you register them, they're going to vote for Trump. So they're panicking over all this. And think about what you've been seeing. Everything that we've been seeing was to wake the people up, was for people to use common sense. And Trump knew if we just let the deep state do what they do, this will work. Why interfere with an enemy while in the process of destroying themselves? Let them do it, because this is the only way the people are going to wake up, and this is the only way the people are going to take back the country. See, if Trump was in office, you wouldn't see any of this. And the people, I do believe, they must learn how the deep state infiltrates this country, and the people must decide on their own to take it back. But to make that decision, you need to see the infiltration. You need to see their agenda. You need to see the insurgency. And that's what people are seeing. Clandestine put this out and said, on the bright side, the Biden regime are doing all the heavy lifting for us. There is no better Trump campaign ad than just letting the Dems be themselves. All we have to do is sit back and watch them show their true colors. The insanity speaks for itself. Then he points to Sun Tzu, a quote from Sun Tzu, Art of War, and says, wait by the river long enough and the body of your enemy will float by you. Absolutely. And I just want to go to post 988, April 2nd, 2018, because since we're in the month of April, I do believe we're going to see a lot of things happen. So let me just read the first line of this post. This is April, and there's a brackets with the capital letter A in bold face. And then a little bit down below, it says, A again, arrests. Why is Huber made public? Why now? Everything has meaning. Then A again for A1. Then tarmac, Iran. North Korea, uranium 1, FBI, DOJ. Mueller, election integrity. Immigration bill, border, wall, military start, big month. I think we're going to see a lot happen this month with many of these other things, maybe with uranium, maybe with North Korea, Iran. We could see already that's happening. And I do believe a lot of this is all going to point to who? Hillary Clinton, Biden, Obama, and many others. So I do believe we're on track, and I do believe the storm is on the horizon. I do believe everything is now coming together, and it is forming. How fast will it get here? I do believe the storm will probably be here very close to the election. And I do believe once the people signal and send Trump the message that, yes, we want you, we want to take back the country, that's when everything's going to change. And remember, the deep state, they're going to fight back with everything that they have. And they will push and push and push. But I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they have countermeasures in place, and they're prepared and ready for them every step of the way. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.
All right. That's our X22 of the day. Yep. Things just getting a little weirder and weirder every day. What can we do? What can we do? Well, we just keep plugging along. That's all we do. All right, let's see if anything new's come up while I was outside. Double check this here. Yeah, let's go ahead and check it out.
The solar eclipse on April 8th is becoming a major event. The National Guard is being deployed, and the people are being advised to have 2 weeks of food and to fill their fuel tanks. This could all be explained due to the fact that tens of thousands of visitors are expected along the path of totality. But many people believe that they could be preparing for possible earthquakes due to the Devil Comet aligning with the April 8th eclipse, and due to the fact that in 1811, a comet also appeared in the skies during a solar eclipse on the same path and was followed by the biggest earthquakes in American history. Known as the New Madrid earthquakes, around 10,000 earthquakes occurred in just 3 months' time, the biggest being measured at 8.8 magnitude. They were the most devastating series of earthquakes in recorded history. But it was a different comet, and while some claim that a solar eclipse can trigger earthquakes, this scenario seems unlikely. This eclipse season is, however, a very rare event. The recent eclipses in August of 2017 and October of 2023, along with the upcoming one on April 8th, forms an Aleph and a Tav over the United States. The Aleph and Tav are the first and last letters of the Hebrew alphabet, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. These eclipses mark the end of the great year, a 26,000-year period that starts anew with the dawning of Aquarius and a new golden age. Manly P. Hall wrote that high-level Masons designed America for a peculiar and particular purpose, a secret destiny to bring about a new Atlantis, or a new world order, wherein a king descended of a divine race will rule over all. In rituals, this king is symbolized as Apollo, Horus, or Nimrod, the father of Freemasonry, and is thought to be a descendant of the biblical Nephilim, or the Sumerian Anunnaki. According to Thomas Horn, this will happen in 2025, which corresponds to several documents published by intelligence agencies, such as Global Governance 2025, Global Trends 2025, and the 2025 Deagle Forecast on World Population. NASA is notorious for performing Masonic rituals based on the Egyptian mystery schools, Apollo being the same character as Horus, Sirius representing Isis, and Atlantis being the new golden age they hope to restore. And during the eclipse on April 8th, NASA will fire 3 rockets named after Apep, the Egyptian serpent god, whose goal was to devour Ra, the sun. And when the sun reemerges after 3 minutes of darkness, it will be likened to the rebirth of Horus, their new king of the Golden Age. CERN, known for practicing occult rituals at a statue of Shiva, the Hindu god who symbolizes death, destruction, and the end of an age, will be firing up their Large Hadron Collider to full power during the solar eclipse. And Israel, who is in the midst of committing genocide, is preparing to sacrifice a red heifer, a ritual sacrifice to prepare them for taking back the Temple Mount.
Red heifers, to be precise. Some Jews and Christians believe they're the key to rebuilding the historic Jewish temple in Jerusalem and to beckoning the Messiah. To understand, you have to go back nearly 2,000 years when the ancient Romans destroyed the last temple in the city. To rebuild it, these believers point to the Bible's book of Numbers. It commands the Israelites to sacrifice a red heifer without defect or blemish, and that has never been under a yoke. Only then can the temple rise again. Those sacred cows were showcased in Washington at a recent prayer gathering. Many evangelicals believe these red heifers will usher Christ's second coming.
We need the Messiah to come, right? So for me, the red heifer is red for the blood of Jesus Christ.
A massive altar already awaits, where the heifers are to be burned.
According to some believers, the ceremony needs to be performed right here on the Mount of Olives, looking directly into where the temple once stood. But something else now stands in its place.
Once they forcibly take the Temple Mount away from billions of Muslims worldwide, it will predictably thrust the world into the peak of chaos that these secret societies have been designing for centuries. And their plan is to bring order out of this chaos, with their divine king to rule over the world. But these are just rituals, and fear is an illusion. We can always choose love. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. That's all I got for you. I may come back on later on today to do some more, but I need to go out and tend the fire. I got to keep an eye on that, or else I'm going to be up Poops Creek without any paddles at all. So I will talk with you guys later. Have a great afternoon, and we will see you then. God loves you. Jesus loves you. I love you. Peace.
you.